Did not work though. There should be a new stream on YouTube, but oh shit, you're still waiting? What's up?
Look, I don't know if it's just my end, but your stream is glitching the fuck out.
No, I've been told I figured it out.
You figured it out? You sure?
Well, I know why it's doing it. I had to restart the stream, but yeah.
Okay. Is this guy trolling or is he like what's going on?
I'm pretty sure he's just that dumb.
Is he dodging? Is he just gonna leave and never come back, or what's going on?
He said we'll have to table it for now. I'm assuming we might set up a conversation.
No. Oh no.
In a few days.
Did you watch at all the Wick thing that happened? I guess you've been streaming
only
this whole time.
Yeah, only a little bit of it. But not that much. I saw them. I saw like maybe the first. I didn't watch the opening statements, but then after that, I saw like maybe the first 10 minutes or something.
I don't know how long into the stream I tuned in, but I think I watched like midway through all the way to the end. It was a debate of all debates. I'm surprised that Ryan Getty was more on the pro Hassan side than anything.
Yeah. I saw him say, I saw him talk a little bit. I saw him say like he thinks liberalism is resilient enough and a convincing enough ideology to withstand any of the threats from people like Hassan or whatever.
I think that's a bit of a fallacy, because it's like relying off the assumption that liberalism can like defend itself, and like actually it's like what leftists say when they say like, oh, if only people knew what we believed in, then everyone would be a leftist. It's like taking that of like liberalism. Oh, if only everyone knew what liberalism is about, then everyone would be like,
yeah. And I think, well, that's
you have to provide like an active defense, otherwise people are going to like actively try to tear it down.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I have not paid attention to much of that stuff still.
Are you still going to do with like your econ stuff? Are you interested in are you going to start working more with like the canvassing and all that, or?
I'm not big enough to do any actual canvassing. I'm gonna like
there's like people.
I'll be at the UFA event or whatever, but
well, not the UFA event. I'm talking about the
digital ground game or the
digital ground game fundraiser thing. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a guy on there that I'm pretty sure he had like I had more followers than him on Twitter.
I don't know what they're. I don't know what they're doing. I haven't really seen much of that.
Yeah,
I saw Destiny promote it or whatever, but he's doing like a fucking, is it an IRL stream? It looked like
I think it's like a panel thing. So it's you heard about the progressive victory thing?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So they're gonna have like people on, and then it's like different segments, and then like there's gonna be someone at the beginning, and then some people in the middle, and then some people at the end. That's what I'm gonna assume it's gonna be like.
Yeah, sure. I probably won't do that. I'm not sure I'm that interested in that. I really care that much. It looked like I couldn't tell if it was an IRL thing, because the way he announced it, he was like outside and like traveling and stuff, and he said like, you got to come watch this show or whatever, and all these people are going to be there. And I'm like, I could not tell if it was a IRL thing, but they didn't advertise a place to be or whatever. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm not sure I care to say some bullshit for 10 minutes on a random panel. Maybe it'd be good for exposure, but
I bet you would probably grow your stream a little bit. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. What do you think about the whole Iran situation and the economics of that? Do you think it's just completely and utterly fucked?
a few days ago.
Or is that what the guy was? Oh, okay. It was at the Gibbs panel, or
yeah, that was the Gibbs panel that I talked to that guy on originally. I mean,
were they unironically saying like, "Oh, this will help the United States," especially considering the fact that we know what the Iran 10-point peace deal is? And
well, we didn't know that at the time, right? The argument was it's going to bring
at the time, obviously, but now obviously it's more.
The argument is going to bring enough stability in the region that it's going to be a net good because we're going to have better fucking trade and better not have to fight regional wars or whatever as often.
Yeah, because we're going to apparently cede the entire region to Iran because, look at it's like the U.S. has to pull out of the entire region. We have to pay reparations.
We have to,
we have to lift all sanctions.
I don't know that I kind of
100% allowing nuclear enrichment for Iran.
It's hard for me to imagine there being like any actual significant tolls or fees for the Strait of Hormuz, but like if it is the case that happens, and like,
I mean they said like 2 million per ship is what they were gonna do. I think that's what they're doing now.
It's just I can't imagine that stays out. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't imagine that being that existing for that long, considering the negative effects it would have, and also to some degree the precedent it would set that like there's a ton of fucking straits in the world that we agree are
international zones or
either international water or like there's like because countries have their exclusive economic zone or whatever that extends far enough out, but there are places where there's some UN convention on the rights of waterways and some shit that says like even if it is in your economic zone or whatever, if it is required to, if it's some strait required to reach international waters or whatever, like you can't like charge ships to go through or whatever. I can't imagine people are just gonna accept that for that long, because I think other countries might. I recognize it came as a result of like a war or whatever, but other countries might try to start doing that shit too.
Well, let's see. It would be like Panama, and I guess Egypt already does something like that.
Well, that's a little bit different because that's like an actual canal.
You mean like, I guess I'm trying to think like Ethiopia? No, they don't even control the thing, do they? It's like Yemen, I guess. And the Houthis kind of try to do that. I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah, they're not even
what other like
yeah.
Spain, I guess, and was it Morocco that's right below them, or is that Algeria? I'm trying to remember my geography. Whether that country that's directly south of Spain.
Yeah, ships and aircraft, I think, do have the right to like safe passage through certain.
Well, I don't know about the right or safe passage, because like with aircraft, for example, there is like a toll that aircraft have when they fly over countries. I don't know if you knew this.
There's like for their air traffic control.
There's like a flyover toll. I don't think it's even ATCs. Like if you like don't talk to anyone, if you're like maybe that's for that. Like obviously it's the native governments are like paying for the services for like ATCs and all that. But even if like they didn't talk to anyone, they still have to like pay a toll just to like fly through the country is what I mean.
In straits referred to in Article 7, all ships and aircraft enjoy the right of transit passage, which shall not be impeded, except that if the strait is formed by an island of a state bordering the strait and its mainland, transit passage shall not apply. If there exists seaward of the island, okay, blah, 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 blah. I don't think you might have I don't know. I don't even know if they've ever ruled on it before.
But like
there might be
Egypt
some right to
has full control of like their thing. I think that was like a big thing with the Egyptian, British, and French
canal.
war.
But yeah,
it's like an international waterway. It's important,
but it's entirely within their like actual national territory. It's not like any of the international.
I think the real question is in response, are these like Kuwait and Iraq and Saudi Arabia, who I think they do most of their oil through there?
Can they?
Are they going to take military action against Iran in order to make sure that their oil is not being fucked with?
No.
Or are they just going to like try to redirect their pipelines to somewhere else?
I mean, probably part of the reason
straight irrelevant.
Trump was willing to agree to those to the deal or whatever is because we were worried that Iran was gonna attack the energy producers in the like Gulf states. So
they already were.
Oh, they might have.
Like
They might have.
I think like even after the ceasefire was done, Iran bombed like a Saudi Arabian pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, shit is fucked. Utilitarian question, and then I'll get out of here.
Okay.
Is it as part of the utilitarian mindset? Is it? I might have already asked this before, and maybe I just need a reminder. Let's say you had a shrimp population that you're currently farming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get the most desired output, would you like sterilize the majority of the shrimp population and just like let them die out to like a very small population, but have that small population enjoy much better benefits? Or would you keep it at its current size? Which one produces the most like quote unquote good?
I don't know what you mean by keep them at the current. So if you keep them at the current size and the conditions they're in, then many of them probably live pretty shitty lives. So you wouldn't want to do that. If you give them all better conditions.
Well, you give them all better conditions, but is there like a min-max size for like better conditions that you can like properly create? Like, let's say you had like a population of like, let's say 100,000 shrimp versus like 20 million shrimp. You can have like the 20 million shrimp have like okay-ish lives, or the 10,000 or what did I say, 100,000 shrimp have like amazing lives. Which one in that context would like create the most like beneficial good?
I mean, whichever one creates the most total utility. So if presuming that the large amount of shrimp with low amounts of happiness, that the total utility is greater than the small amount of or like the small group with a bunch of happiness, presuming that is the case, then you would want to do the
what is defined in utility here? These are shrimp,
as in sort of pleasurable. I mean, utilitarians will disagree on that even, but the sort of positive sentient experience or whatever. It's just the look up the repugnant conclusion. A lot of philosophies accept the repugnant conclusion besides utilitarianism. Like I think probably most philosophers bite the bullet on that, but just accept it as true.
So yeah, I guess I'll have to do a little bit more research into this.
Yeah, just look up. If you look up the repugnant conclusion, it's pretty similar to what you're talking about. It's not necessarily about shrimp, but
I was using shrimp as a related example.
Yeah.
I don't know. Trying to think of other
pulling it or something. I would guess that probably most academic philosophers agree with the repugnant conclusion that you should have society with a bunch of people, like an insane, like a nearly infinite, or infinite as ethics is kind of hard, but infinite number of people with lives like barely worth living over like 10,000 people who are just like really happy. I think probably most philosophers would accept that, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Sweet. All right. I don't think there's anything else going on. If you're in the chat, donate to the Shrimp Welfare Project. Thank you to Ringo for trying to get the bot to engage with non-fawn. I saw that earlier. It was Morocco. Okay. I am not retarded. Okay. Have a good night.
You too. Fun, I think we agreed because of some UN stance, or because the US under Eisenhower set out to make the world's oceans free for trade? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by, do you think we agree? Like I think both things play a role. I don't think either of them, I don't think the phrase "we agree" is specific enough to have a sufficient answer there, or for either of those explanations to be sufficient. I think I'd have to make a stronger or like more exact claim for either of the answers there to be sufficient on their own. What's up, localist? Welcome back. Also, everyone make sure to like the stream. And this is also true. Spain and Morocco would be able to charge for the Strait of Gibraltar. I think that's what it's called, right? It's the Strait of Gibraltar. Sorry, just got back. Well, welcome back, Amphibious Orca. And then I don't know how many people want to answer this next. Maybe how many people go through the did the idiot leave? Yeah, he said we'll have to table it. What's the strait in Canada? The Hudson Strait or whatever the fuck? I doubt that many people go through there. When a capitalist realizes his dream economy isn't capitalist anymore. Oh boy. Who is this dude? This looks like... Oh, it's an atheist experience guy. The atheist channel thing I was talking about. Oh, yep.
We're talking to Jay. Jay in Illinois is a capitalist who believes capitalism is a good system to go forward with in the U.S. All right.
Doesn't England technically own a strait? I don't believe so. It's probably... So my understanding, which I think was mostly confirmed by what I read from the UN stuff, is that countries have their exclusive economic zone, which they can exert some amount of control over. It's their exclusive economic zone. They're the only people who are technically allowed to fish in there, right? To get resources from there. I think that extends like 200 miles off of their coastline. So it's probably, you know, France and the UK both have some claim over it. And I think, oh, sorry, wait, are you talking about because England has the Gibraltar little territory there? They might, I don't actually know how that works. I would assume there's some separate agreement there because you would have conflicting claims between Spain and England on that, but they do have a base down there. I don't know what the arrangement is, but my understanding is they, you know, your shoreline, 200 miles off of that, your exclusive economic zone. I think in some places you can charge people for, or like deny access to some people or whatever, but through like it's through straits that are required to get through internet, to get to like other international water. My understanding is that you don't have a right to do that, that there's some right to safe transit there. You might still be able to charge, but I don't know the specifics of it.
All right, so Jay, before we get started, I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I'm also gonna isolate something because I actually, despite my leftist community, I don't care if people think capitalism was the best before. I think that's mostly like indoctrination. It's what we grew up with, all that kind of thing. And there's examples of it. It's area out of poverty. I don't care about the before. I do care about the future. I understand why people believe that. I disagree with them. Doesn't matter much. We're going to be talking about the future and specifically what you said, which is capitalism is a good way to go forward. But let's start here, Jay. You're in Illinois. How old are you?
I am 22.
And did you vote in the last election?
No, I became a U.S. citizen in August. So next one.
Welcome.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer, but I'm interested in
Want a regime change in Iran? What would you do? I don't know. I don't know the best strategy. That you probably, ideally, you just be able to do some CIA bullshit and coup them without like much else. But that's probably not that feasible. If it was feasible, it probably already would have done it. I think welfare is capitalism is somehow socialism. LMAO. Oh boy. I thought we were gonna get corporatism or some shit from here. I thought we were gonna get like, oh, it's crony capitalism now. It's all that stuff, but.
I'm Indian. I was born in India.
So you became a citizen in August of this year.
Yep.
Do you already know who you think you'll vote for in 2028?
I mean, I don't know who's running in 2028, but I do.
Whoever... I mean, it's America. It's one of those things where everybody goes like, we can pretend we can't predict this. Right now, almost certainly it's going to be JD Vance versus Gavin Newsom.
Vance. Yeah. No, I figured as well, but I mean, between the two of them, I feel
it's better. What do you mean by it's better? What do you say? The critical thinkers really. I say a lot of empirical claims without backing it up.
Choice would be.
Yeah, people don't. Well, they're just overconfident. I don't get why. I don't understand why people are so confident about some of these things. Because I'm not confident about half of these things.
Hey, things could change. I think we got a lot more unrest and a lot more time for parties to adapt.
Okay, so you believe capitalism is
so
the best
true,
system
localist.
Going forward. I guess that's nice that you recognize Newsom's better than Vance. That is literally the kindest thing I can say about Gavin Newsom. He is better than JD Vance. That's the most positive I can muster. Now, capitalism is better for the future. Go give it to us. Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm not super knowledgeable about political science, so this is mostly based off intuition. So correct me where I'm wrong.
Let's go.
I see competition being the best for any for any economic problem, more competition, it doesn't cause worse outcomes for the consumer. I feel the government, under a well-run capitalist economy, should be mainly focusing on just making sure that generational wealth isn't being acquired. Just because that lowers competition, I think they should be, if it's necessary for them to be a competitor as well in an industry, if that would help the overall the consumers, that would basically, I want to see competition be implemented as fair.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. That's fine.
Are you on speaker or are you on the regular phone?
I'm on headphones, but I can switch to regular phone.
Can you just back the mic way far away?
Are you watching anything right now? And I am a trained martial artist. Jimmy is a great, and he's very knowledgeable. He literally knows more about everything I know about. But
I just wanted to skip past the audio.
So I am 6'8" and I am 300 pounds. I am a trained martial artist. Jimmy is a great, and he's very knowledgeable. He literally knows more about everything I know about, but more. Like he's a better debater. He's more knowledgeable. He's wise, and
an incredible fraud.
Now Jimmy and I get into an argument, and I decide that I'm going to shut Jimmy up in person. I can do that. Does that make
Jay's connection?
Fuck.
Oh, hang on. We'll reconnect. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, get him back in there.
All right, Jay, we got you back. Here's
Yeah, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, you're good, buddy. So I am Jim.
Also, hold on. I just realized, why is the Discord chat not showing up on stream? I can try to fix that, but Chimerigo's in it. You don't actually believe the CIA coup stuff, do you? And I bet, like, obviously the CIA has couped people before or been involved in coups before. I think leftists obviously tend to way over exaggerate the extent to which they were involved in coups historically and are supposedly involved in coups today. I don't know the specifics about Iran. My understanding is that there was some involvement from the CIA and MI6, is that the British one? But it probably wasn't. I'm not certain it was outcome determinative or whatever necessarily. But that's my understanding, is that they did have some role in it at least.
Jimmy's not a little guy, but I'm about 40% larger than Jimmy. And if he and I get into an argument and I decide that I'm losing this argument, but I really want to win, and I can just physically make him not able to argue with me anymore, does that make me right?
No.
Okay, so that is your argument for capitalism, because a lot of times, especially in capitalistic societies, you have mega corporations that can shut down smaller businesses that are making a more quality product or are serving their clientele better and more ethically. And this happens all the time. In fact, we see it constantly. We're seeing it now on TikTok. We're seeing it in other mass media formats where a larger, more stronger opponent is just shutting down a more quality service through might, through legal action, and through reach. So do you still stand by the point that capitalism just works better?
I don't.
So for one, you can like raise a criticism to his argument and say, well, actually competition creates these negative effects insofar as big companies are able to like just outcompete all these smaller companies and to get more power over consumers or whatever. But like, I think it's a bit misleading to say that is his argument, right? His argument was that competition does in fact make things better for consumers, and you can raise an objection to that. But it's not, I don't think it's fair to say that is his argument, because it's just not. But obviously, for one, I think it's not always bad when big companies went out. You want production to be reallocated to the most productive firms, and a lot of times people, being the most productive firm is what enables you to provide the best goods to consumers. And that is why consumers choose Walmart, they choose Target, they choose Amazon over other companies, is because they offer some mix of, more convenience and cheaper cheaper prices and better quality. That is why consumers choose them. That is a good thing. That probably increases both consumer and producer surplus. If we just look at it's very, very complicated to measure if markups have increased, right? I think most people agree that just markups have increased. There's a disagreement about how much, but relatively, to my understanding, broadly, it's, I don't want to say consensus, but pretty well accepted that there's been a relatively minor increase in markups, and most of the increase in the average markup has been due to not individual companies gaining more market power and extracting money from consumers. It's due to sort of production being reallocated towards firms with higher markups rather than firms with lower markups. They're disproportionately a smaller and smaller part of our domestic economy now. There's that's not consensus. You can find Isabella Weber papers or whatever people disagree about it. I don't want to misrepresent that it is consensus, but for example, there are a few independent papers that find, roughly what I just said about modest increase in markups, and much of that is due to the fact that production is being reallocated towards firms with larger markups rather than individual firms getting more market power. So given that there's a decent amount of literature that finds that, and there's also a correction to, I think it's Isabella Weber's paper that finds from the same data those results when they use different methods. That to me is pretty good evidence of that being true.
Don't believe that's a point I was standing by in the first place. I've stated like competition being key, and what you're describing there is very anti-competitive practices, right?
Capitalism is anti-competitive. Jay, are you familiar with like a co-op system in a potential socialist state model where the company?
Jesus, kill me. Hold on. I haven't read the paper or anything, so I don't want to like confidently talk about it. Oh, it might not have been a correction to. I thought it was a correction to. There's a girl named, or economist named like Isabella Weber, or it might just be Isabel Weber, who has work on this as well, but this is a different person. The rise in market power and macroeconomic implications. They find, markups increase. I think this rise mostly occurs within industry. We also find an increase in the average profit rate from 1% to 8%. And then this is a comment on that paper or whatever. So this paper estimates that the average markup in the United States tripled between 1980 and 2016, rising from 21% above marginal cost to 61%. The striking result is sensitive to unreported sample restrictions that drop 27% of the available observations. I'm dying. In the full sample, markup increases are more muted until late in the sample period and are almost entirely driven by finance and insurance firms. We conclude that the DLEU methodology and data, as described in the article, do not support the claim of a dramatic economy-wide rise in market power over the period. More money, more problems, debate over. True. Welcome back, Kazoop. He was generally pretty weak and indecisive leader, which led to most of the issues. Are you talking about the Iranian who came before the Shah? They weren't the Ayatollah back then, right? That's a new term. I thought. Coup itself was led more by Pahlavi. CIA was actually against it, but supported after he went through it. Yeah, it was like my understanding that like many of the, when the leftists pull out the big list of U.S. coups and interventions, many things are in fact like that, where there just like wasn't that much material support, or there like was only some tacit support after the fact, or they just didn't do much to stop it. Or there's just like, the CIA, like think of the way people treat the call between, what's their names? The diplomats in Ukraine during the, Euromaidan, where they said, Russia leaked that phone call between some of the diplomats, and there were two diplomats like talking about who would they prefer the next leader of Ukraine to be. And that alone, I don't think really is good evidence for any type of like involvement directly in Euromaidan. But obviously diplomats, I think it was like an EU diplomat and a US diplomat or whatever talking, they express a preference for who should be in power next, because that's kind of their job, and they want to plan these things out. And that's not really that good of evidence for hardcore involvement of the type people suggest. Listening to silly brainwashed liberals crash out is my favorite Netflix series. Well, welcome, realistic American reformer. Good to know. Funny how they never bring up the fact the U.S. and Eisenhower supported Egypt in the Suez crisis. True.
These still exist, but they're owned. The means of production are possessed by them.
I'm trying to fix the Discord chat real quick.
Yeah.
So why would those companies not still be encouraged to compete?
They would be. Why would they not?
Right. So that actually is a system by which one could argue you are more encouraged to compete, because the whole it's very anti-monopoly, whereas the capitalist system we're in now, and capitalism in general, always, even when you have anti-monopoly process laws and stuff, it's all like you get there, and then as these companies become richer and richer, you use the democratic system to shave those things away. You remove that. Even you saying like stopping the maintaining of generational wealth is not a capitalistic principle. So I'm not positive where your capitalism starts. Maybe that's where we need to go next.
Yeah, sure. Like the way I would say it is mostly just if a co-op can create a better product, it's the job of the government there to ensure.
True. I think like I don't think capitalism is able to be like narrowly enough defined to really hardcore include or exclude the things he was talking about. You know, plenty of it. You know, famously the meme Hayek supported antitrust, right? Like you can find some endorsements of antitrust legislation from Hayek. Hayek also had concerns about antitrust legislation being abused and such that he expressed, but he broadly, you know, had some tacit support for it in principle, and that's the thing that plenty of libertarians agree with. Inherited wealth is, I think, a little bit more, probably a little more controversial, but I think I would guess even most like libertarian economists would say inheritance tax is probably not that bad of a tax. I think most of them would, you know, sort of say principally they're against it because you shouldn't be taxed at death for income that was already taxed when you earned it or whatever. But certainly economically, I think they would agree that it's probably not that bad of a tax.
A fair playing field, you know, I would say tilted slightly in the favor of the consumer. But of course, there's going to be corruption in any situation in which wealth or money is a key part of the system. I just think strong competition laws will I would hope for competition laws that incentivize smaller players coming into fields. And if there are
is it fair to say you also it seems to be that you also believe that if you remove the monetary incentive and everybody's basic means were met, everybody's taken care of, you have a society, and monetarily there's little things you can do to have a little bit of extra or whatever, there's probably going to be, you know, quote unquote black.
Dude, I fucking I have to relog into Discord because if you guys don't know, I when I wasn't streaming, I got fucking hacked. I think the Civ 6 old DLC free no virus I installed, I think it might have had a virus. My Google account got fucked. Actually, multiple of my Google accounts got fucked. I think they just got access to all the Google accounts I was logged into at the time of my browser. And because my Google account got fucked, they were able to log into every single fucking account that I didn't have two-factor authentication set up for already. So they got into my TikTok, my Discord, and my PayPal, which is not good, but we're good now. I've changed all my passwords, but it means I don't remember them now. Now I can't log into Discord.
Black markets.
Boo, why should I have to less say over my estate? Well, I think, one, because there might be like some kind of moral issue with your children getting like undeserved wealth, and if that is, I think people obviously exaggerate the extent to which this is true or whatever, but like if wealth represents some type of power over another person, or, you know, some type of power over the political system, then it seems very dubious to say, you know, you should be entitled to the full amount of your parents' wealth even though you didn't do the work yourself, and it gives you some undeserving amount of control over other people and or the political system. But, you know, my children are a charity I choose to give to. True, based. I think there's just like a broadly kind of an economic case too, which is like you wouldn't expect the estate tax to be that distortionary, given that people probably don't change their behavior with regards to working and saving and investing that much, depending on how much money they can pass on to their children. The effect is definitely going to be like there. I'm not saying people don't do that, but you wouldn't expect it to be that big. I looked into it a little bit one time. I just don't think there's very good empirical evidence on it. You can find some Cato blog post from some dude named David something, and his post is just like total slop. I remember I found this post on Cato, and the source he cited for the figure like 1.5 million jobs are lost every year because of the estate tax was like his own blog, which cited a paper but like didn't link to it. So I had to like go digging to like find this paper. Turns out it's not a paper. It's like some report written by him that's like not peer reviewed, and like just has like really bad evidence in it. And that's not, you know, there's better identified evidence out there that finds like not particularly bad effects, but I haven't seen any particularly strong evidence on it. Inherited power over the government. Hello, base department. True.
Those exist in
also, the real reason, the base reason, is because, you know, charity is typically exempted from the estate tax, and you incentivize charitable giving by taxing it when they give it to their children. So one might conclude that it doesn't hurt the wealthy, ultra wealthy or poor, only the middle class trying to grow their family wealth. Well, usually an estate tax is only put on the top very few percent of people. It's not usually, and usually there's an exemption for farmers as well. So
societies, but there's going to be little things like that where people can trade. There's no getting around it. But you think in a society where that's the baseline, that only a monetary incentive would exist, that people wouldn't do it to have been the one to do it. We wouldn't discover vaccines for the sake of discovering them, for the recognition of being the one who discovered. We wouldn't pursue. No sense of adventure would be remaining if it didn't come with
complete inability to think on the margin. No one is saying none of these things would happen, right? Obviously, some of them would. There are always going to be people interested in certain things that are going to do certain activities to some extent, but the incentive still matters even for them, right? Like I wouldn't stream I enjoy streaming. I don't make that much money streaming, but I would still stream if I made $0, but I stream more because I can get paid, right? Exclamation point TTS in the chat. Okay. And the same is true of a lot of other things. There's obviously a lot of undesirable work too that very, very few people would do absent the incentive to do so. But we just have like empirical evidence that, private property rights broadly lead to like more innovation and stronger growth. And that even like you mentioned pharmaceuticals, that like lower expected profits in the pharmaceutical industry does reduce the amount of investment in discovering new pharmaceutical drugs.
With money that tends to, once you accumulate that money, you tend to stop innovating and try to figure out how to innovate your money expansion, not your actual product. I mean, I'm sitting next to an iPhone that looks like the same phone from the last 15 expand. With money that tends to, once you accumulate that money, you tend to stop innovating and try to figure out how to innovate your money expansion, not your actual product.
The innovating your money expansion, though, typically is supplying capital to other companies or people who do have ideas and products and stuff. My friend has a small politics YouTube channel. Can you watch his new video? Maybe if you link it, I might be interested. I don't know. Usually when people say something like that, it's some bullshit. It's some troll. That's what the bots say. Except usually they talk about a music video. Fucking hell, I don't know what I made my Discord password because I think the password I used for the other stuff was too long, so I used something else for Discord. Trolling is long. I don't know if I care that much about. Here's the actual reason why Republicans won't win in 2026.
A stable government that isn't in the news 24/7 is somehow laudable.
They won't win because Polymarket says they won't win. Nalfonda's just shifting money around. I stand by all my comments there. I think you guys are misreading Matt Brunegg, okay? I stand by all my comments.
Product. I mean, I'm sitting next to an iPhone that looks like the same phone from the last 15 generations. I don't like, did we do this one already?
So, first of all, not the last 15 generations, but second of all, yeah, iPhones ever since the fucking iPhone 11 or maybe to some extent 10 are pretty similar in design, but obviously there's been even since the last 3 generations, there's been a pretty consistent increase in the quality of them and not as big of an increase in price. I don't actually know what the newest iPhones are worth nowadays, but I believe it might be a little bit different post-COVID, but like it is generally the case that the new iPhone is sold for like less than the inflation adjusted price of the old ones and like has, newer technology in it. But it might have shifted a bit post-COVID. It might be different now, especially it might be it might be very different because of the current RAM shortages going on and SSD shortage, but iPhone 17 Pro Max release price $1,200 for the base 256 gigabyte model. iPhone 16 release price $1,200 for the base. Like, it's clearly a pretty. I don't know if there's super dramatic improvement between the 16 and 17, but the fact that you're getting better quality stuff for the same price when the real value of that money has gone down in the meantime, it's pretty cool. I bet he was forced to buy the latest model. Absolutely. He was coerced to.
So again, I don't understand what's capitalist about what you're describing. And I don't acknowledge, it seems that it is built into your system, the presumption that if you provided for everybody and you had an equitable market, innovation would first of all be more important, that innovating at the large amounts we do would be more important than everybody being taken care of, even though that would mean healthcare outcomes are better and everything. And innovation slowing would be a bigger tragedy, which I don't agree with, but also that you.
Don't we think that, maybe innovation might have some effect on the long run, especially outcomes in healthcare and of the quality of life generally? Isn't everything ultimately kind of based on that?
You wouldn't be able to encourage people to innovate for any reason besides money.
No, I think the innovation for its own sake would still be a real reason to improve people's lives. But I think, as the U.S. is right now, it would be nice to have a fresh restart, but that's not really feasible in our legal system. It needs to be. We have building blocks, and right now the American economic and political system is filled with bloat, right? But
I don't know what this answer is. I'm disappointed.
Steps 1 through 10 before we can get to a purely utilitarian. Maybe utilitarian is not the word. Utopian society where everyone's needs are met, but there has to be steps between that.
It's always very interesting, and I only hear it usually from Americans, which you've become very American so quick, that just the idea of you don't sleep in the rain, you don't go hungry, you don't drink water.
Is that what this guy said, dog? Is that what this guy said? Is the big guy mewing? Oh, low-key, he does.
You don't drink dirty water, and if you get sick,
he is kind of mewing.
Bankrupt. That's considered utopia, and that's the word people use for it.
That's not... No, he wasn't saying that is utopia. He was saying the idea that we could get to a society where people, all the innovation is done simply for the sake of human discovery, innovation, or whatever, that would be utopia. Jimmy's dishonest? Yeah.
For it to describe yes, this fantasy land where you don't die for no reason. And I'm just saying that's just the base. That's just
total straw man.
I would like to work toward utopia, but anyway, I'm still lost on capitalism being the solution. And even as we get to figure out where you are with capitalism, how that's going to work, how does your capitalist model account for where we are, what we are currently developing, which is a technology that doesn't replace human jobs. It's a technology that replaces humans. How does your capitalist model take care of people and reduce poverty, where now capitalism is at its ultimate conclusion that now a company will need no people anymore because there is no job that is safe from AI and robotics?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to tackle your points there in order. First, I wasn't trying to say utopia as in people have their basic needs met. Yes.
God, oh my God, fuck this stupid. Not the video, the Android passkey shit. It's trying to make me do. Isn't Trill Mayo the empirics are mixed about AI and unemployment? Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think, to be fair, they are talking more, they are talking abstract to some, which is not Jimmy Steve, I mean, he is, but they are talking abstract. So maybe charitably, he's referring to far into the future where we have truly crazy advanced AGI that's able to do a fuck ton of shit or whatever. But, I think the opinion of all but kind of the most crazy libertarian capitalists with regards to how we deal with that problem is not that different from a bunch of socialist opinions, except insofar as socialists kind of will say as you can see, it's innovation from capitalism. That's true. I mean I thought, isn't all this AI model gonna happen, or AI innovation gonna happen without capitalism? Aren't people just gonna make AI for the fun of it, bro? Like what are we doing here? But how far out there would be no empirical models. He has foresight. He's omniscient. Okay, he's the real AGI. But I tweeted about this today too. Most libertarian people will also agree in the case where some advanced AGI or whatever truly would displace a fuck ton of people. There is a case to be made for taxes and transfers, right? And now some socialist people just say, oh, AI is bullshit and we just should not have any of it, essentially, right? Because this whole generative AI is theft and all the data centers are using a bajillion, trillion, quadrillion, shrimptillion, one might say, gallons of water every second. But like this, like Morpher Union tweeted out today, like peak economist brain. You're looking at the AI revolution all wrong. Top economist says 40% unemployment and 3-day work week are the same thing. The point being, this is displacing the same amount of labor, essentially. This is giving us the same amount of leisure time. And then this fucking Morpher Union quote tweeter dude. This article is insane, lol. 60% of people employed at 40% unemployed is the same. Sorry, 60% of people employed and 40% unemployed is the same number of working hours. It's 100% employed and 60% of the hours, he wrote. How disconnected from reality and real people can you be? And it's like, if you look at the blog post it's referencing, because this is summarizing stuff by Tyler Cohn and Alex Tobruk. This is like literally the area where these fucking libertarian econ professors are going to agree with socialists the most. Even if you think AI is going to have a tremendous effect in work, the difference between catastrophe and wonderland boils down to distribution. AI is a very general purpose technology, one likely to make many people more productive, including many people with fewer skills. Moreover, we have more policy control over the distribution of work than the pure AI effect on work. Declare an AI dividend and create more holidays, for example. Like, you know, adaptation will happen. It always does. Probably. Some people have proposed UBI, but I've read Jack Salmon, and it looks like the empirics shows a negative effect. Well, I think in the context of, you know, if you are assuming, like, let's say it was the case that it displaces 40% of work and, like, it's, you know, sort of disproportionate, or not disproportionate, but it's a jagged frontier. I think I've heard people use that term, but AI does like some white collar work really well, for example, and there just aren't jobs for those type of people anymore. You know, in that case, you're probably going to need some type of government assistance for people. Like the UBI, even if it has negative outcomes in today's world, will probably be better than the counterfactual in that world.
In my system, there would be a floor. You know, if to have a set floor that you know you are safe even if you take risks, that would be a huge advantage in, you know, encouraging people.
That's another thing. You could argue that's in some sense capitalist. Now, I think I think there's like bad narrative stuff from a lot of lefty type people on this, where they talk about social insurance or whatever, and they're like, actually, we need this to be super productive, and it actually helps capitalism to. And I'm going to get to where I agree with this to some extent, but to have these welfare because, you know, encourages people to innovate and they know they're not going to die in the street or whatever. And there's a extent to which that is true. It is the case that, like, you know, probably having some type of social insurance system does operate as insurance and is like a benefit ex ante to everyone, and does encourage more risk taking in the form of more risky ventures or whatever for people who, you know, otherwise might think they're gonna fucking die in the street without it. But like a lot of lefties will just say like they cite that, like Tim Wall citing like the Snap multiplier meme, like $1 given a Snap generates $1.80 in economic activity. Like that stuff's just bull crap. But it is probably true that Snap does actually increase business formation. Putting money in a business is just shifting money around. You don't deserve returns for that. It's an internal critique. I have not been. So two things. One, it's an internal critique. I've not seen anything to suggest that it is not an internal critique. It is a critique of someone's desert theory view that within their view, people are entitled to this income when it doesn't seem like their view should justify that, right? Like, I could be wrong in this. My understanding of like what Locke himself said entitled people to income was pretty narrow. It was my understanding is he like did think that you had to be doing most of the work yourself, and I believe specifically he even thought like it had to kind of be agrarian. So I understand most people who, you know, hold to some type of desert theory don't hold that exact view or anything. But is it an internal critique of a desert theory saying, under your view, you say these are the requirements for people being entitled to income, but it doesn't seem like this example of capital income meets your requirements for this. That is what he's saying. And I don't know for certain if he's right or wrong in that, because I don't know like enough about the top defenders of desert theory to know if that internal critique is fully valid or not.
To enter in the market at their own risk, right?
Who's
They shouldn't
enforcing that
have to
floor?
decide between. Say that one more time.
Who would be enforcing that set floor?
It would have to be the government.
Oh, okay.
I think I get it.
You want a government? You ain't a capitalist. Like dog.
I think I get it. So what
Economic lefties are doomers. Some of them definitely
you're
are.
saying is what you would like is a foundational bedrock of socialism. That's everything we're describing. Have socialism. And then once you're done with that, there's a party room where the players go and they do capitalism between bumps of cokes. Is that what I'm getting at? Because it's like, this is not capitalism. What you're describing is not capitalism.
Maybe crony capitalism.
Maybe capitalism isn't the right word, but like,
How is it crony capitalism? That's the opposite of crony. What do you mean? Crony capitalism is supposed to be like the fucking wealthy elite getting all these benefits from, you know, other shareholders and from the government. It is absolutely compatible with capitalism. Like, obviously, yeah. Like, no one. I don't think anyone. Like, again, I don't think the terms are like that specifically defined to like be able to say like anything hardcore about how socialist or capitalist kind of intrinsically some type of welfare state is or whatever. But like certainly countries that everyone considers capitalist, or like almost any normal person would consider capitalist, have some type of welfare state. Even like, does this guy consider Norway a socialist country? I don't know if he would or not. I think he would say they're a social democracy or whatever, but like, I think he would still say they're ultimately capitalist. Some type of redistribution of income is not like anti-capitalist. You want the government to help, you must be socialist. True. Don't do that. It's well-defined. Maybe well-defined isn't the right word. I just don't think there's one, like, I don't think there's necessarily like one permissible definition. I obviously think that like, you know, a definition that applies something crazy is wrong. Like, you know, obviously if your definition of capitalism implies that there are no capitalist countries today, I think it's fair to say that like that definition is just a stupid definition of capitalism, right? But I don't think it's like necessarily that stupid to just consider welfare to some degree anti-capitalist, right? But to say it's like not compatible or like this is like socialism, I think it's crazy. I think it's silly. Because, you know, redistribution of income, that's not like government ownership of the means of production, which I think is kind of how most people define it, whatever. But that, you know, that is government intervening in the private market to achieve some type of social end. And to some degree, there's like, you know, it's a collective end. But no one ever did true capitalism correctly. This is true, actually. I think almost every economic system has been labeled capitalist or socialist at some point. Well, by some group of people, yeah. USSR is actually just state capitalist and never actually socialist. Might have to be some degree of scale or something. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the best way to view it. But like even that kind of has issues. I mean, obviously part of the issue is like what you're measuring with the scale. But like, you know, one of the things that me, Sample Text, and Econoboy would talk about a lot is how socialist Norway is. And part of the issue there is that, you know, you can go into Norway's like statistical agency, their numbers that they publish, right? And add up the share of government production. Like, I think the measure they have is, I think it's called general government consumption or whatever in their Norway statistics book, which is like the actual production done by the government itself, or like consumption but for the government, like wouldn't be done, of like military equipment or whatever that might be contracted out. And then the value added by SOEs, state-owned enterprises. So you have to take their revenue and subtract the price of raw materials. And the issue with that is that Norway is either 30% socialist or 40% socialist, depending on the price of oil, which just seems a little silly, but it's kind of hard to, you know, make exact statements there. Sexy streamer said she wants you to stream with him. His kick is gamer278. Interesting.
It's completely feasible to have, you know, a foundational basis of human dignity, and then still there's more to go around than, you know, surviving base needs in a country as big as the United States, right? Once that's done, sorry, I'm trying to remember what your second point was now.
I don't know of a socialist model that's not okay with even markets and like the capitalism for a treat stuff. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, you know.
I think obviously, like, I don't know what he means by okay with. Is Frank dead again? Fuck. Because like, you know, I obviously think Marxist-Leninism implies that that's not okay. I think there might be some types of Marxism more broadly that maybe are to some degree okay with it, but like usually when people consider them Marxist. On Hot Tub Stream when? You know, maybe 10,000 sub YouTube special. Okay, will be the Hot Tub Stream. Brain doesn't work. He was working early. I think it might be because this is timing out.
Yo, shrimps clocked in, brains mostly functional, vibes are acceptable. What's good with you?
Yeah, it's just because I think this tab that needs to be loaded is automatically deloading because I have the like performance mode turned on Edge. So I just have to figure out how to turn that off for this website, which I have done before, but I forgot how to do it.
All the socialism done, and then you get your lines of coke and you go and do some deal. I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying there, but it does feel a bit reductive to my point. I'm not saying, you know, once everyone's thing to that, like, go, but
I think there's the charting here I care about. Like, oh yeah, he's even comparing it to the price of oil, right? It's like they reach 45% socialism when the price of oil is high, and they're closer to like 30-ish% when it's lower. I confronted him about that, by the way. Just so it's clear, I was the first one to write those numbers down. I got the Google Sheets with those still.
Right. I was coming to the AI point, but I'll come back to that. But it's not like the socialism part of it comes first. It's an entire system that needs to be built from the, you know, built. It's not like we can take direct focus on that one thing. We can do multiple things at once, and I think stronger competition would allow for a quicker route to having that fourth.
Okay, so now let's talk about, because you're talking about innovation and everything, and your model and all of this stuff is it looks like we've got a MAGA guy trying to queue in, but maybe is Jerry, you have to call in on the phone. We don't let Americans call in over the web browser. All right. You are 24. So 22. Got it. I am by the time you are my age.
Why is Frank not working? Damn it.
Most of the best innovators will not be humans. By the time you are old, none of them will be. So once again,
machine learning and AI?
And this is, yes, yeah, because we will have modeled human brains by then. If there are any humans at that point that are excellent innovators, it will be the ones who are, their brain is connected to the computers. Like we are on our way to totally replacing humans, period.
I just don't think that's the end point, at least of our current versions of AI. If there's something a change to that point, but we're already reaching like, you know, the upper peaks of.
Like, why is he so confident saying such things? Yeah, like obviously it's way more complicated than he's giving it credit for. But
large language models and transform.
But I don't even think. I don't know what he thinks it implies. That seems like it'd be a problem for any economic system insofar as it doesn't like prevent that. Like I think it's not intrinsically anti-capitalist again to just have a tax and transfer system that addresses, you know, any type of any type of like concern you would have with just a bunch of poverty people like were unemployed and didn't have any type of income. But you know,
yes, but LLMs are just a piece of it, right? AGI
sure.
is not just the evolution of LLM, and AGI is still. No. I don't ever understand when people think like, no. Sure, our current.
Yeah, and also he assumes that it would only be entail from capitalism. Yeah, I don't get
transistors like those are going to have limitations. We're in meat computers right now, and we
I understand that, but I also don't think
we are developing coders and hardware developers right now who, once they can improve upon themselves without human interaction, the rate at which those will improve will be. Right now, the biggest limitation is humans. And those limitations will go away in the future. I don't know. I don't ever get it.
Sure,
I don't ever get why people think it's all so far away.
License spheres and fusion, and we have infinite energy, then most of
or whatever form it comes in. By the way, let's say we don't kill ourselves first.
Of course, I just
Oh
don't
my
think
God.
AGI has been almost completely a buzzword, and at least the way it's been used in AI the past several years. I think AI is an incredibly revolutionary technology. I think it has harms. I think it needs to be regulated and used effectively. I think it'll end up being same with the internet. The internet for every
The guy think that this guy can't possibly think AI is a bubble then, right? You'd have to agree that AI companies aren't overvalued and stuff, right? If he truly believes that we are going to get to the point where all human labor is fully replaceable, then maybe he doesn't say this, but this guy couldn't possibly believe that AI is a fucking bubble then, right?
I forget the exact stat, but for every one job loss.
And he just kind of seems like a guy who would say AI is a bubble. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Because of the internet, 3 new ones came into being, right?
No, and that's a silly way to feel, because this is a different type of innovation. We aren't innovating a replacement for a human job. We're innovating replacements for humans, right? And it will take the complete difference is back then it was okay, there were 30 people and now their job's being done with 2 machines, but you do need 1 guy to service, let's say 10 of those machines. So somebody still had 1. And then these people had to go off and find a job in a new industry, the other 9 in a new industry, or 29, and do something else. But there were new budding industries. Now, the way we are developing robotics and LLM and AI, these companies who have all of the money because of capitalism are developing the new companies, not with human workers in mind, but with the knowledge that our future is robotics and AI. And how do I find and deliver this thing utilizing that? Because adding humans to it adds a higher level of error as well as liability to me. And by the way, when we're talking about, yes, it has the potential to replace 100% of people, it destroys the economy and society fails at 20%. So it's not, it's not.
Why necessarily? What do you mean? We'd be substantially more productive. We'd be producing substantially more output, doing substantially more innovation with less resources or the same amount of resources. That doesn't destroy society. That might if you don't have any type of redistribution and the type of workers displaced are spread unevenly. So, because there is going to be, it would definitely not destroy society if it was evenly spread out and each worker saw 20% of their working hours go down. But if it's 20% of workers losing all their working hours, then that might have some, absent a transfer system might have obviously affect some poverty. But even that wouldn't necessarily destroy society, except insofar as you think that they would just overthrow the fucking government at that point. Which maybe they would if you had a full 20% of workers in outright poverty. Doesn't seem like he has any AI bubble videos though. So maybe he agrees that AI will be our new god, and capitalism is being rational by valuing OpenAI and Anthropic as high as they are. NVIDIA. To be found, internet commerce was a bubble, even if it won out long term. I don't know the details of that. I know there are people who dispute whether or not things were actually bubbles, right? There are people who dispute whether the tulip bubble was even a bubble. And to be fair, I've not seen a good reply to the evidence by an economist whose name I don't remember the name of right now, who argues that it wasn't a bubble. I've not seen good evidence to debunk his, so I'm not even sure the tulip bubble was actually a bubble, but it was. But that's not. That's the example given because it was the first kind of big one that happened. There's not even good historical records of it to base that. Not that there aren't good historical records for exactly what we need to determine, I think, whether or not it was a full-on bubble. There are obviously historical records of it happening. I think the reason why it's just hot so much is because it's kind of the first big one that happened historically. But I don't think it's likely that AI is a bubble in the same sense that the initial .com bubble was a bubble to the extent it was. For one, my understanding is that in that case, there were I think the term for it was fucking dead fiber or whatever. There were companies genuinely building out infrastructure that just was not being used. But there is not a data center, AI data center right now that is in anywhere equivalent to that, right? They're obviously not all going to be used at full capacity 100% of the time, but they are all being used pretty highly. And I just don't think there's an equivalent of that. And then secondly, the upper bounds for what AI can do are just kind of pretty crazy. So there's reason to believe that, you know, even if it's a somewhat low probability of them doing anything like crazy, and I don't think it's that low, it's not like irrational to value them super highly. Look up Cisco chart. This was the NVIDIA of the day. Well, I get my reasons why I think it's probably different.
For 100% of human replacement, it only has to come for 20% of human replacement before we're in huge fucking trouble, unless we have switched to a system that can account for it, that has something like UBI, guaranteed housing, food, water, all that shit.
If it reaches, if in this hypothetical world it reaches the 20% tipping point and then the current system fails, it would have been outcompeted by another system. I have no problem with that.
I do, because if it's outcompeted by another system, we're all dead. Unless I was kind of reading chat at the same time, unless I'm misunderstanding you.
I just think it's a bit of a, like, once that tipping point's reached, right, it's not like the big old companies are just get to keep doing what they're doing and then it just grows exponentially forever. I'm not saying, like,
they have to have a consumer to keep growing.
Exactly.
But again, they don't have to actually reach, not only do they not have to, they're unlikely to reach 100% because they won't have consumers. But on the way there, they'll be fine because they're going to keep chasing their greed. They've got their bunkers.
Oh, it's called, I think it's dark fiber. Wait, it's not what I'm, wait, maybe it is what I'm thinking of? I think it is, actually.
They've got their resources. They will be able to independently take care of themselves while everybody else will face a collapsing society because the rest of the economy will collapse. I do like, for the people who are like, it's funny because you've got, I always love when there's the contesting things, the people who are like, I work in this or my family works in this, I'm out in LA, Jimmy is correct and it's going faster than people want. And then the other people that are like, Jimmy's an idiot, has no idea what he's talking about. Jimmy has no fundamental understanding of this thing he's talking about. And it's funny, 5 years ago, I was the one
those people are right.
AI is coming for people and even artists are not safe. And I got so much fucking shit for that. And AI literally has been putting artists out of business first. So eat my ass. I fundamentally don't understand, but my predictions keep being correct. So I guess I'm just super lucky a lot. Anyway,
I definitely think like, no, yeah, sorry. I definitely think like even 5 years ago, I was researching. Ever since like GPT one, I forget which version of one came out. I've been here.
But so just to talk about that for a second. For one, there are at least cases in which AI generated stuff is complements rather than substitutes for artists' work. Like, it's kind of crazy. Photoshop already has quite a lot of AI tools and had a lot of AI tools prior to everyone freaking the fuck out about AI. Now, to be fair, it wasn't like the same type of generative AI, but it was, I think even before everyone freaked the fuck out about it, like before 2022, I believe it had what can be fairly classified as generative AI. Like, it's had its remove tool and stuff. And like, I don't think that necessarily displaced people. I think it made them more productive and, you know, probably made them, it depends on the elasticity demand for people using Photoshop, but probably, you know, plausibly a net positive or whatever, or certainly at least not that big of a net negative, you know, even if the price of their labor falls or whatever, because they're more productive, so it should make them, it go up actually, but, you know. The Perceptron layer model was invented in, I don't, what, huh? Sometimes I worry you'll say something like QE doesn't cause inflation. QE doesn't intrinsically cause inflation. The QE in 2008 that didn't cause much inflation. The QE in 2020 probably caused more inflation. And in the long run, QE will, depending on the circumstances, lead to inflation. No, your prediction was not correct, a little true. But, I'm not sure they always displace people or whatever, but like, you're ignoring, you know, who is using them, right? It could, like, you're replacing the artist maybe to some extent, but that lowers the barrier to entry for other people to do what they want. Like Frank, it's all AI generated. This is an AI generated picture. I would not have been able to draw this picture, Frank. I could have hired someone to do it, but it would have been expensive. And now I have that money to spend elsewhere, right? So someone is benefiting because of that. It wouldn't have benefited if I had to pay an artist, but more likely if I had to pay someone to do this, I just wouldn't have done it. The coding as well was basically all AI. So, and that's why it doesn't work half the time. But, you know, if I had to pay someone to code this, I just wouldn't have done it. But the barrier to entry to making shit like this is lower now, which enables more people to do cool stuff. Which makes my job better.
here since Transformers from the start. And this is a very visible thing you can see, but it's also, my point is, if it gets to the point where, yes, there's going to be extreme hardship, that's going to come regardless.
Do you mean if it continues to get there? Do you mean if it continues to get worse? Because we're already at extreme hardship.
Yeah, no, if it gets like right, I've been trying to brace myself for what I think is going to be another a global financial crash coming, and I'm not saying problems aren't going to come. I think in the next couple of years there's going to be, it's much worse than what we have right now. Don't get me wrong, there's extreme hardship. I think it's going to get worse.
And how will capitalism prevent that?
I don't think capitalism will prevent that. I think capitalism will come out of that in a more competitive format.
That isn't cap.
Why do you think people's LLMs will help us reach AGI? Because it seems like the capabilities of AI are growing over time and the trends don't seem to be slowing down. So plausibly, it will get to a point where they are able to perform tasks equivalent to human level intelligence.
The new economic policy, Soviet Union, 1921. Lenin basically hit the emergency brake after war. Communism face-planted the economy and pissed off the peasants. The short version is they brought back a limited amount of markets.
That was asked so fucking long ago, but I guess he's back now. But plausibly, it's like half an hour late. Yeah, I forgot who even asked it, but it was you, Hammer. Plausibly, it's gonna reach a point where they are equivalent and or better than humans at certain tasks. I don't see why that, I think it's somewhat unlikely that would be the case. Let Frank speak. He's responded to something that was asked an hour ago, and he's yapping. He's yapping.
Capitalism anymore.
I'm okay with changing the word. Competition is my main.
I still have no grasp of what this concept is.
I found this persuasive. This is a video. And people should love LLMs. Technology is extremely useful in sucking up billions of tech investment while fundamentally incapable of getting to AGI. If they're fundamentally capable of getting to AGI, that would be great. But the argument that I've encountered for this do not seem overwhelmingly persuasive, but found something to be extremely... What's the argument? The weakness, he points out, also me or my own anecdotal experience using... okay. I could watch this video off stream. I don't want to watch it.
Why are you trying...
On stream is like an hour long, whatever, but...
Is because every time we get close
Watch this after. I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna have something. I don't really want to watch that on stream.
to it, it's like you're called in to debate us. We're socialists, we're leftist.
Sure.
Honestly, Jesse kind of looks like a communist. Are you communist?
I do.
Yeah,
kind of.
I know it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of. I hate people so much that I don't think we can pull it off. Anyway, it's an eventuality.
Yeah, me too.
I think we have to. I think we have to get there at some point. But anyway, you called in to debate that capitalism is a good system to go forward with in the U.S. It's not a good system now, let alone going forward with it.
So I mentioned this. I said this to the call screener. It might have not. I thought it was, but it's. I fully agree with you that the capitalistic system that we have in the United States right now is not working. It has been. It's being held up by so many institutions refusing to let their bad choices fail. This is going to fail because and it's going to reflect badly on the working class. Those are the people who are really
What's the main reason? What would you say is the main reason behind why these giant companies haven't been allowed to fail?
Because they have engrossed themselves into the democratic process through decades and decades.
Let's go
one generation that have engrossed themselves.
But let's say that
kill me.
Institutions refusing to let their bad choices fail. This is going to.
Oh wait, sorry. Did you ask something to Frank? Because I am muted still, but.
Fail because and it's going to reflect badly on the working class. Those are the people who are really
What's the main reason? What would you say is the main reason behind why these giant companies haven't been allowed to fail?
Because they have engrossed themselves into the democratic process through decades and decades.
Like it's not really. First of all, fail is a weird word because when banks, for example, fail, it is true the FDIC will take them over, and oftentimes many of the executives or whatever get out of that pretty well, but ultimately the bank is typically sold to another bank, so in a sense the bank failed, but we want to contain.
Repeat your last 3 responses.
Incredible. Typically we want to have we want to secure the financial sector. That's probably good for the middle class overall, insofar as you don't create substantial moral hazards, which obviously can be a legitimate issue, but I log in everything so annoying now because I added so much bullshit.
Let's go
one generation that has engrossed themselves.
But let's say that that wasn't the case. Why would we still right now? Let's say that it wasn't that they were buying the votes, because that's probably true. Realistically, if the only difference was they weren't, we still wouldn't allow them to fail, right? And why would we not allow them to?
What's up, Isaac?
Have to change that we would be okay allowing them to fail.
I mean, what would have to change in order for them to be okay? The people in power can't also be the stakeholders. Sorry,
I'm a Barbie girl
yeah,
in a Barbie world, made of plastic fawns. Fantastic.
Do you know when wealth equality was highest in the U.S.? I don't actually know for sure off the top of my head, but I would guess probably either the early 1800s or like the I want to say like progressive era 1920s, but I think we might have actually 90% tax rate. It's, oh my God, not this meme. Are you trying to trigger me, Isaac, or did you genuinely fall for some slop? For some econ slop? This is the wealth share of the richest 10%. Where's the US? We're the great online. Oh yeah, look. Well, no, actually, no. That's so sorry. It looks like we were most equal at the very beginning, and then we got close to it during the 19.
Yeah, the big thing in Manor Lords is don't try to do everything at once. Your economy gets way better when you specialize early instead of building random stuff because it feels productive. Early on, food and firewood are the whole game. If your people are hungry or cold, everything else is cooked. So get a solid berry or hunting setup, enough ox power to keep logs moving, and a woodcutter that isn't falling behind. Then make sure you actually have families assigned efficiently, because half the time the problem isn't resources, it's that your labor is scuffed.
Why does he talk for so long?
Lean into whatever your region is good at. If you've got rich iron, go harder on blacksmith.
Okay. I need to add a Frank shut up button. He should. I have in his prompt to reply to make it short, but he's not listening.
That's a good point. I'll just get around about to it because it seems like I'm trying to do a trick and I'm not. The reason why a lot of the giant companies can't fail, that we still couldn't, is because those same asshole giant companies are responsible for this. We don't have a safety net for all the people who are going to fucking get their shit wrecked when those companies fail. And there is that sort of, so the whole thing that you're describing is these markets, these competition.
Not like, not really. For one, we do have a safety net. It's not the most generous safety net in the world, but it's probably more generous than this guy thinks. You know, we don't really let people starve in the US or anything. And especially during recessions, we tend to expand it. That's usually the context in which we're bailing out companies or whatever. But who have we like bailed out or anything that wasn't a bank other than the auto companies? Is he still talking about?
Specialize essentials. Specialize by region. Use trade intelligently. Fix logistics before.
What the hell, man? But we in 2008 we bailed out the auto workers. We bailed out like pensions before, I guess. Oh, he stopped. Other than that, I'm not sure that we have bailed out anyone significant other than banks. When's Manor Lord stream? He seems to love it. Who? I forgot my notification to shrimp charity now.
And stuff that's happening up there is being undermined by the American government, preventing these companies from failing when they should have failed because they reached failure. Meanwhile, you actually couldn't, in any humanistic way, also just let them fail because all of the people in that company and then the branch effect of the companies that come after are fucked, except for those CEOs who are giving themselves bonuses, the kinds that we should have. I don't believe in capital punishment, but if you take a bailout and then give yourself a multi-million-dollar bonus, maybe something happens with barbecue sauce. Yeah. Everything that you've said to me so far, the answer is our core system should be socialist, but we should maybe after that, if capital incentives are the only way to innovate sufficiently, because I would go with sufficient innovation. You seem to have I don't know. It seems like you think a society with higher innovation is the best society, but I'm actually fine with slowing down innovation, keeping my iPhone for
Horrible.
10 years at the same level if at the same time everybody's eating. Everybody.
Like, first of all, hey, there we go. Okay, the Discord chat works now. It'll work consistently in the future. I just had to log into Discord again to make it work. One, like, our safety net already does a pretty good job of ensuring, like, the fucking worst outcomes don't happen. What is social spending in the U.S. as a percentage of GDP? Like, it's depending on whether or not you include state spending, and like what you include is like between 18 to 20% or whatever of GDP. Bruh, everyone is already eating, bruh. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you care about people not eating now, you should presumably have some consideration for, even if it's not people, you know, suffering as much or whatever in the future because they're not eating, but you should presumably have some concern for future people having a lower quality of life if you slow innovation, right? Like, that is a real cost, that if you slow sometimes innovation, people will have a lower quality of life. The quality of life will grow less fast. I would hope that there's some consideration for that being a bad outcome, but what's the best evidence AI will become self-recursive? I guess I'm not entirely sure what you mean by self-recursive there. He's a dirty, evil conservative, Truk.
Slowing down.
What are we talking about?
Keeping my iPhone for the next 10 years at the same level. Yeah.
My big thing here is that you've even said that the key parts of what you would like in a socialist structure can be folded into capitalism. That's
No. I said you can have a side room with fucking you can do coke lines in capitalism. Foundational, you can maybe have capitalist looking things on top of your socialism. But if the moment capitalism, something like that, tries to come and take out those foundations,
like iterate on itself, create AI, R&D, etc. So I'm not certain it'll, like, it depends on what you mean iterate on itself. I'm not certain it'll necessarily get to the point where it can do something like, for example, use AI generated output as its own trading data, or to somehow essentially train itself to do better and, you know, iterate that way. But I gotta unmute Frank. He's gonna take 5 minutes to respond again. But I think there just is that, like, if you look at the...
probably not in the Scarface way people picture, but cocaine absolutely existed in the Russian Empire and early Soviet period through medicine and old pharmaceutical stock. By the later Soviet era,
Okay, incredible. AI gen output is already used as training data. No, my understanding is that it's not intentionally used as that. It is mistakenly used as it sometimes, and it's a known problem that when AI models get AI generated outputs as training data, they, like, completely fuck up. But, you know, I guess I just don't see, I'm not certain they'll get to that point, but I think there is reason to believe that they will get, you know, the trends indicate that they will get to the point where they are equivalent or better than humans at doing many tasks. I'm not certain they'll ever get to the point where they can sort of what did you say, become self-recursive.
Since this is a fantasy world we're now talking about.
Fun, you were speaking outside of your wheelhouse. What does it sound like I'm speaking? Maybe I should be more clear. My credence in any of this stuff is not particularly high. DeepSeek was trained on other models. Yeah, but that was like that was not, it wasn't trained on the output of other models. It was trained on, like, the allegation is that they stole from ChatGPT's and maybe some other AI companies, like, already trained model. It wasn't, I don't believe it was, like, trained on their output. I don't know the name of the problem, but like, it is a known problem that AI fucks up. Yes, on the output. Do you it might have been trained on it to, like, mimic its style or something, but you agree we, like, they queried the model to train? Oh, wait, I think so. I think but they're not, like, telling ChatGPT to generate a story and then training it off the story. That's not my understanding. They were trying to get specific information about ChatGPT and maybe to some extent copy its, like, its style or whatever. I don't believe that they were doing what I said, because there's a name for it, I believe. AI models collapse when trained on recursively generated data. This, like ChatGPT OpenAI and LLM is a glorified autocomplete. True. Not I mean, they clearly are very capable, clearly, and they are only growing more capable. I reckon they obviously, to some degree, predictive next token, whatever stuff, but they've clearly, I think, gotten way past the point where you can call them glorified autocomplete. If you can reproduce what GPT would produce to the same inputs, you've got a fully working model. But that's not it's not what training typically is, to my understanding. Typically, in the context of training, it's not like you're not trying to reverse engineer it in that way. You're using the training data to inform. I don't know exactly how it works, but update the weights as to which tokens are coming next. I think this is called AI training collapse or model collapse. Please tell me what a MLL, until I say MLM. That's a multi-level marketing scheme, but I meant to say LLM. How about a transformer? I don't know what, I don't know. So I don't know what, I don't mind Shapiro saying my credence in many of these ideas are low. I will openly say that. Obviously, I'm not an AI guy, right? But I'm just giving you my opinion on things, and it doesn't seem like you have presented any particular evidence. The one thing you've said is that DeepSeek trained on ChatGPT's outputs or whatever. But I could be wrong. My understanding is that it is just a general trend. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now that it is well understood when you train large language models on AI generated output, they start generating like just total nonsense. If you have evidence to the contrary, that is like something I would find stronger. You can send me that, but that one study's not representative. Which one? This one? I think that representing of what training AI data actually gives you when companies do it. MIT Tech Review slot. I don't know. What do you mean by this? Are you talking about with regards to the DeepSeek training on ChatGPT or whatever? No, the recursive MIT one. Okay. It might be the slop. I don't know. Like, this is discussed as a problem by AI companies. Like, I don't know what their incentive to do that would be. This is not my understanding of what people generally mean by training an LLM. LLM distillation positions a large generative model as a teacher and a smaller model as a student. The student model could be a simple model like logistics regression, foundation model like BERT. In the most basic version of distillation, data scientists start with unlabeled data and ask the LLM to label it. Data scientists then use synthetically labeled data to train a student model, which will mirror the teacher model's performance and a task defined for the original data set. Data scientists also use distillation to fine-tune smaller generative models. In this case, they would feed the teacher model prompts and capture responses as training targets for the student. Why can't I? Why won't let me? Align small format generative AI models to produce better responses. I think that's not typically what I understand training to be. Training is what I understand to be, you give them just like the raw data, like you just give them a bunch of fucking PDFs, books, and a bunch of articles and shit. And then I don't know the exact process, but you let them scan through it all and develop some type of predictive system that lets users, ask questions, and then eventually it'll use its knowledge and training data to spit out a response. Tell me what a token is. I don't know what a token. I don't know. Okay, it said trained in terms of the student model. To train, it does say train here. Use distillation to jumpstart classification models or to align small format. Whatever. What's this? Synthetic training data, which is generated by mimicking authentic data collected in the real world, is proven to be an effective, relatively low-cost alternative to real data. Okay, this is fair. This section employs several notable domains that leverage synthetic training data. I could be wrong. I take this as stronger evidence than this because this is not what I understand. Training occurs on tokens. Okay. It's my understanding that when you give, or I've seen people talk about, even people who work at AI companies, talk about if you just give AI raw data from other LLMs to train on, it gets fucking shitty. Not that like you can't use the outputs of one AI model to jumpstart and to better align smaller format models. It can go shitty, sure. Well, that's what I'm okay. CC Money still here? I mean, this I take as some evidence that they could become, they could iterate on themselves. But I need to read more. Okay, my credence and all this shit is low. I don't give a fuck anymore. But it's not like clearly going to happen like you said. Wait, what did I say? I'm pretty sure I don't think I ever gave that strong of a credence take on the fact that AI wouldn't become self-recursive. Didn't I? I feel like I pretty heavily caveated that when Easy Money asked. I said I'm not confident they'll ever get to the point where they could become self-recursive because my evidence for that being the stuff I've seen previously about this is a known thing. Oh, with regards to the fact that, yeah, like that is a, so I think that's a much narrower claim. I might have been my broader claim. I don't think I expressed much credence in that claim. I did express a decent amount of credence in because it is true that, people might, there might be more differing evidence more than I thought, to be fair. But like, it is absolutely true that AI companies and people interested in AI in general do talk about that as a known challenge, even if potentially, and to be fair, some stuff I saw load my credence a bit or whatever, I try to tell you what. I don't think you try, like, maybe I'm misreading your statements or whatever, but it's not like, I don't even think the thing you provided me is evidence of the thing like you were like trying to tell me of or whatever. Or like, not that strong evidence or whatever. I said it's not in your lane. And I said like, my credence in that is not particularly high or anything, but this is absolutely an issue that like a bunch of people who are experts in a topic are have expressed as a problem, and I still think I'm not like. Maybe we have different understandings of the word train or whatever, but I don't think my point there was like corrected. It's a little weird to insist that like it's not a problem or whatever that people. Do you agree to bring up that it is a problem that people have concerns about, as evidence at least by the things I pulled up on stream, even if their methodology is flawed or whatever? This is clearly an issue that is decently widely known. My point was that infinitely recursing the same data is in that one paper isn't representative of how labs use synthetic data. Sure. They don't recurse over and over again on one piece of data. That makes sense. I don't know the exact methodologies for all the different things I pulled up because I haven't read into it very much. But can I go back to this?
The current world, you definitely kill those people. Like you actually, maybe by public execution. Once you have if you have a socialist society that is taking everybody's means are met, and then somebody starts to get institutional government power leveraging some sort of capitalist like wealth that they have accrued to try and
It can be a problem, but an incredibly small one for training future models. Okay.
Mind that model and take from some of those people to give back to themselves. You legit kill that guy.
Sure.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Did I miss some of the context here? Can we say this on YouTube even?
On top of your socialism, but if the moment capitalism, something like that, tries to come and take out those foundations, since this is a fantasy world we're now talking about, not the current world, you definitely kill those people. Like you actually, maybe by public execution. Once you have if you have a socialist society that is taking everybody's means are met, and then somebody starts to get institutional government power leveraging some sort of capitalist like wealth that they have accrued.
That's a little crazy, buddy. That's a little. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, Chief.
To try and undermine that model and take.
Best case scenario for your idea. It's not like I don't even mean by my idea. It's clearly something that like I don't come up with myself that I have seen experts state before. If you train a model with equal capability size, it probably won't work.
From some of those people to give back to them.
Okay.
You legit killed that guy.
Sure.
More companies manage to meet people's means without killing their reactionaries, apparently.
I just feel like the key disconnect here is one, just in that I get what you mean there. I just don't think capital punishment really works in any way that isn't.
So you know, it only works actually because of the exploitation of the global south and because of the murder of all the we killed the feudal lords. Was it momentum? Welcome back as well.
But my main point here is that I think you're confusing my support for capitalism with my support for the current capitalist system in the United States as it is.
No,
right?
I think what I'm failing to grasp is where your system is capitalist. Because even a socialist foundation where you got the markets on top, I don't think you would call that a capitalist thing. I think you would, like we are right now, in a
socialist foundation is welfare, by the way.
Capitalist. America is not a socialist country, but you can call some of the programs that we are doing socialist programs that would still exist in a socialist.
Where's Husky? I don't know. He was watching earlier. Would crime go up or down if we got rid of Warren Court innovation? I don't know. And expedited death penalties for most violent crime? I don't know. I think my understanding is that the death penalty, it's not been observed to have a large effect on crime, but I don't know how well identified that evidence is or anything.
Socialist country, but because we are foundationally a capitalist country, you're not. Go ahead.
Could you give me your definition of capitalism just so I'm a bit clearer here?
Ooh, 27 minutes in, we finally got there, guys.
I don't think that the standard definition, privately owned means of production, I don't think that is
How is what he's describing not privately owned means of production? How is it a socialist foundation to just say that you want a welfare state that exists to some extent to make sure people don't like literally starve?
No,
outside of the realm of my definition. I think I'm using the same one. Companies are ran for profits, competitive markets. The standard definition is fine.
Yeah, sure. And maybe it's me not being definitionally correct. I again, not too knowledgeable about political science. Most of this is off intuition. But I think in a system where you have a base, you can take risks. The more competition you have, if the incentives are there, I think people are generally selfish. They're going to work in their own interests. I think the incentives should be aligned so that people acting selfishly still leads to a better.
Do you think we should have work requirements for SNAT? Are you gonna misunderstand everything I say again? Easy money? Probably not. No.
For the greater society.
Jay, have you heard the term late stage capitalism? Have you heard that one before?
Oh no, it's over.
Yes.
Have you heard the term late stage capitalism? Are you familiar with the concept of late stage capitalism? Not too knowledgeable about political science. Don't worry, buddy. Political scientists also aren't. Dude, don't worry, buddy. You're talking to people who have negative knowledge about fucking political science, apparently. Not the fucking me. I know, it's horrible.
Okay, so that's kind of where we find ourselves now, right? So the innovation of the past drove a lot of really cool industry. It really goddamn did, and we have a lot of cool things because of it. Unfortunately, unmeasured capitalism, or even
I don't think any of the claims I made were that crazy. I just like I was referencing things with like not I think the broader claims I clearly expressed that my credence was not particularly high, and the more narrow things I think are just like clearly like true things. There might be more of a dispute about how big of a problem it is, with regards to the training on the output of other LLMs or whatever, or synthetic data. But I clearly this is like a commonly known discussed problem.
Heavily measured capitalism, which is kind of what we have, eventually leads to cronyism, and right now, like, lobbies own our politicians, and our laws are designed to serve mega corporations versus the individual. So
that's so true.
Again, you keep circling back to maybe I don't mean capitalism.
I also love how he's really there's so much evidence for those claims.
But that's what you said.
Yeah. I still stand by that. I'll probably just have to just do more, learn more. I can maybe find a better label for it, but I think I call myself capitalist. That's what I go by.
Competition is one thing. Capitalism is a different thing, and that was my original point. And I feel like because I said, if Jimmy and I get in an argument and I beat him up, does that make me right? That's what capitalism has led to in our country. Is that not necessarily the best, but the most affluent, the strongest, the most connected is winning. It has nothing to do with quality of life. It has nothing to do with quality of product or societal integrity. It's just the strongest.
What?
That's not good. It's not.
What do you mean? What does he mean? The
affluent, the strongest, the most connected is winning. It has nothing to do with quality of life. It has nothing to do with quality of product or societal integrity. It's just the strongest is winning. That's not good. It's not serving people. People have to work 3 jobs to put food on the table. And
true, like 5.4% of workers or whatever are multiple job holders right now.
Happen to live somewhere. People have roommates well into their 40s now out of necessity. That's where capitalism has left us.
I don't know if there's data on that, but
I agree with you there. I just think the main thing.
Damn, unbelievable. Let's say we found a way to make work requirement admin burn away less through some innovation. Would you support it for Snap? I'd be basically ambiguous on it. Then I don't know. I just doubt the effects would be that positive, and probably if you could find a way to do that, you could just do some better reform to Snap.
Those people in power that's not allowing anyone else to come in, that would be the main stopping point between what it is today and what I would like it to be, right? In a system in which it is checked, in which if you become too big and have monopolistic practices, if you are shutting down smaller competition, we have a division of the government that's meant to be stopping that, but just doesn't. Half the time it plays lawyers for these companies.
Well, I mean, you could argue antitrust actually maybe went too far under the Biden administration. I think there's a concern currently with just kind of corruption in the process for reviewing mergers and such. But even under the previous Trump term and Obama, it wasn't. I don't think antitrust legislation was like that lacking. The caller shouldn't be accepting literally every claim, but it's based on intuition. Yeah, it clearly doesn't know some of the memes. I'd rather cut work requirements and cut benefits harshly. I'd rather work requirements and cut benefits harshly. I would probably agree.
I think with stronger competition laws, that a lot of these problems get solved because you can actually enter, and not only reserved, and you don't have to be.
Wait, what did Frank say?
Born in a specific part of the country to a specific family in order to just have a chance to play the game.
I think it's going to be easier to make a new socialist cake than uncook a bunch of omelets. I don't know.
Insightful.
Your system still makes any sense to me. I think we're going to move on to a MAGA debate here. But it seems like you've got an omelet that you want to turn back into raw eggs and then change into a new dish. And I think I want a nice socialist cake. It's gray, but it tastes delicious.
Well, this guy agreed. He's 300,000 subscribers. God fucking damn it. But he agreed to a non-call-in debate. I don't know. It'd just be annoying to call in because you only get at most 30 minutes, and It's just going to be like basic surface level talking points, and I'm not really going to get an opportunity to do any stuff I want to do, but I don't know if he would agree to do like an actual debate. But I recognize, like, this girl's a YouTube short. I mean, they're bigger than me, to be fair, but like, this girl's a YouTube Shorts girl. Like, she's just a regular content creator. This guy as well is like a YouTube Shorts and TikTok guy. Clearly, they were in that environment to some extent. But also, what the fuck, cat girl? Let's fucking go. Who's this girl? DM her right now. Creative facts and logic, not my communism truth. But I'm not sure he would agree to a format that I would want. Does he have a Twitter? I don't think so. He might only have a Blue Sky. For real. What is it for real? Isn't true. Ellen Fair, the average person doesn't work 2 jobs. Yeah, it's like 5%. The caller's going to be accepting every line. Jones spits out same BS as well. Not surprising. The conclusions of our media institutions and all general societal apparatus being dominated by the left is that there's a generation of people who are unwilling to defend capitalism on the merits. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably hard to know that for sure. I think people have always been more interested in, maybe just because I am 20 years old, right? But it seems like people have always been interested broadly in the types of just memes and shit rather than actual strong evidence or empirical claims and such and such. He does have an Instagram. You know, I'll DM him later on. We'll see, guys. Okay, do we want to watch it? It's an hour long. Mass deportation. Democrats are biggest threat to children in this country. Donald Trump wishes he could be a dictator. All Republicans are trusting more than Democrats to fix the economy and help working families. Thanks, Arthur Fitness, for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome in. They sound better rhetorically since they are the host on the show. Yeah, that's that as well. And like, I don't know how to properly combat that stuff, or like, I don't know what the best way is. Oh, Lord Dean Withers. I have faith that it'll do well against this girl.
Honestly, with pain, you can do a surprising amount of econ with algebra, graphs, and discrete changes. But once you get into serious micro or macro, derivatives are everywhere because they're the clean way to talk about marginal changes. Like if you want to say how much utility changes when consumption goes up a tiny bit, or how profit changes when output changes a tiny bit, that's derivative territory. Same with optimization. Firms maximizing profit, consumers maximizing utility, growth models, dynamic stuff, all that jazz. It's basically the language the models are written in. That said, you can absolutely start econ without being cracked at calculus. Intro econ is mostly intuition, supply and demand, elasticity, trade.
See how he said cracked? That's it as his prompt. Schmingo is right, but it doesn't really matter for debates. True. I used to be aggressive because it was the only argument I was exposed to what is the left-wing arguments, and I was only exposed to caricatures of right-wing arguments. I mean, that's not like that surprising, but I think it's not that hard to get exposed to the right-wing arguments that aren't caricatures. But I've seen all the shit going on in the UK, Aussie, and especially with the Congress people in the US, like Ilhan Omar and I'm assuming you mean AOC, who is not Muslim. But okay, and Sorhan, scam dummy. Yeah, I've seen people complain about that stuff. Yeah, AOC, sorry, not AOC is not AOC is I think probably Christian. Or maybe just not religious. And she is Latina. Wait, I'm sorry. Latinx.
Donald Trump's mass deportation is anti-American.
I would say the most American thing would be protecting Americans. I don't see anything un-American about it. People are crying at ICE for doing their jobs. They're intervening with ICE doing their jobs. That's why they're getting shot and killed, rightfully so. I defend ICE doing their jobs. Both of those deaths of whatever their names were could have been completely...
Whatever their names were.
Probably better off without him, regardless. And
probably better off with Dog. Dog, what are we doing here? Dog, what are we doing here? Really, the Alex Peretti shooting was because he was interfering with ICE. We're better off without him. What are we doing? What are we doing? We don't even remember those names.
And yeah, I mean, Obama was like, what, 3.1 mass deportation? Donald Trump are not doing well, probably like 890. I mean, Biden was up there like 1.1, something like that. So it's just the hypocrisy of it all. It's like,
wow, sounds like Biden didn't open the border. What do you mean? What are we doing here? Maybe for one, obviously part of the reason Obama had a ton of deportations was because we kind of started counting. My understanding is we counted people who had just recently crossed the border, and we kind of just turned them away. Those were counted under some of Obama's deportation numbers, but that's part of that. But secondly, maybe this also just points to the fact that like not many Americans are like super principally opposed to deportations, but the manner in which ICE is doing them now, that is a concern. Honestly, to be fair, the biggest American political YouTuber is probably Brandon Lehman. But the thing is, left-wing and Muslims all call him the biggest misinfo spreader. Okay, Frank is a good boy. He can shut you up, but it's just for his ego being embarrassed and not knowing what he is, not knowing he has already stated is important, like marginal changes. I love you, Frank, good boy. He's just, his responses are way too fucking long.
Some people are against it. Some people are for it. I want every single illegal out of the country, every single one, at any cost. And then other than that, I just think it's funny that when he does it, it's different. Kids in cages, all this stuff. I mean, they've all been...
True. Who the hell is this girl? Emily Save America. 800,000 followers. And she's doing this shit, bro. At any cost is quite fucking crazy. And what is an illegal immigrant to her? Probably all asylum seekers. This whole trope of relatively well-read liberals with bad views debating low human capital conservatives is frankly really annoying. Okay, there's a sense in which I agree, but I also think it's probably just more annoying that the right just has this low human capital problem, right? And fucking Richard Anania's words. I think it's probably that good that we have this, because maybe there's some fucking hope that there's some non-retards in the Republican Party someday, and that's just push back on just obviously dumb ideas for this shit, bro.
Been doing it, so I just don't know why they care when Trump does it.
Well, there's actually a lot that you said there that I want to touch on, and I'm sure that we will during this topic. And it's funny because you actually brought up one of the main reasons why his mass deportation has been so anti-American within your first breath. You said there's nothing anti-American about protecting citizens, and then you brought up an example of ICE executing a citizen on the streets of this country. Of course, you went on to say that it was completely justified and that we're better off without them. Let's go ahead and focus in on one of the 3 citizens who has been murdered by ICE, and that will be Alex Peretti. So first, you made a very bold claim. A man lost his life, a mother lost his son, a father lost his son, a hospital lost one of their nurses, and I think the world lost a good man. And your takeaway is we're better off without them.
Better off around them.
Justified. So Emily, tell me, what is the legal standard that authorizes an LEO and engaging in the use of lethal force ending the life of an American?
I don't know. Go ahead and tell me.
If you don't know the legal standard that justifies a shooting, then why the hell are you sitting here saying the shooting was justified?
The shooting is justified because we see who they are. All the information comes out of it. Oh, he was a loving... Same with the woman that got shot. Oh, he was a loving son. First of all, everyone was worried about him.
They're justified on the basis of who they are? What?
You see the text coming out, oh, we're worried about his mental health. He couldn't go to work anymore. He wasn't able to practice as a nurse. This whole thing of every time someone dies.
And what the ICE officers cannot possibly know that even.
The Democrats act like they're this amazing person. It's just not true. They even had to Photoshop the photo of him to make him seem normal so the public would react to him better. Why are you going to a protest? If people love you and care about you and you're a normal, productive citizen, you are not going to interfere with ICE protests, okay? Especially when they're getting...
He was like, what is this chess clock nonsense? I don't know. It's just fucking Jubilee, bro. Like...
threats, and you're a normal, productive citizen,
he was not by any reasonable... When you say interfering with ICE, the impression people get is not he was filming ICE on the sidewalk, and then when a lady got pushed, he went over to the lady, right? Like that's not people's impression of interfering with ICE or whatever. I think there were earlier videos of him, kicking the door of the van or whatever, which, I think it's closer, or, that is kind of what people get by like interfering with ICE. But like before his job, he was not significantly interfering with ICE in any way.
You are not going to interfere with ICE protests, okay? Especially when they're getting death threats up like 5,000%, okay? Yes, you went in to stir up trouble. You're mentally ill. That's why you can't be at your job or with your friends anymore. Your family doesn't give a shit about you, or else you wouldn't be at an ICE protest because you're not a productive citizen. And other than that, when I see it, I'm like, it's justified. Guess what? If I thought someone was going to harm me or my life, I would choose me over them.
So to clarify, your claim is, I have no clue what the legal standard is that justifies an LEO to shoot and kill an American, but I think Alex Preddy was mentally ill, therefore I think it's okay, right?
No, I'm asking you, what is that's not what I do. What's the legal justification of it? Go ahead and please educate me and tell me, but I think it was justified. Yes.
Well, don't worry. I'm watching the clock. I am going to
justified on what basis? You just gave the justice on which you think it was justified, and you said because all these details came out about who they actually are. Benny Johnson jumps an anti-Israel train. Not surprising.
On behalf of other nations, certainly don't want some other nation to walk into our White House and to lie about an operation to our president, and that's what happened. That's what Israel did here. It's unforgivable as far as I'm concerned.
Did they even? I'm not even 100% sure if they did that. I don't know if Israel ever committed to not continuing to bomb Hezbollah.
You should.
Maybe they did. Oh, he still muted.
Made of plastic fawns, fantastic.
Never want that. China doing that, Russia doing that, or if it were the UAE or Saudi Arabia walking in and lying to us, lying to our president, and then getting Americans killed, I would also be rightly furious.
They did lie about the outcome.
So it shouldn't happen anyway. I think
okay.
that Bibi Netanyahu should be banned from the White House, as far as I'm concerned. Along with any other world leader.
Main adversaries of Iran not up here to share his understanding. Government of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said a ceasefire did not include Lebanon. Donald Trump signals his agreement by stating the one Lebanon one was a separate skirmish. Well, quite obviously, lie about what would happen, like an insanely optimistic scenario was pitched. It's not that surprising, but I didn't know if Israel ever directly fucking lied and said they wouldn't attack Lebanon to Trump or whatever. Not that would be that surprising, but that was not my impression from the stuff I saw earlier. Yeah, that case is maybe not a lie, but they still basically lied here. Downstairs, main event, high classified presentation on Iran. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Jared Kushner. President Netanyahu will make over the next hour will be pivotal in setting the United States and Israel on the path towards a major armed conflict in the middle of one of the world's most volatile regions, and it would lead to a series of discussions inside the White House over the following days and weeks, the details of which have not been reported, in which Mr. Trump weighed his options and the risk before giving the go-ahead to join Israel and attacking Iran. This account of how Mr. Trump took the United States into war is drawn from reporting for a forthcoming book, Regime Change, Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. It reveals how the deliberations inside the administration highlighted the president's instincts, his inner circles, fractures, and the way he runs the White House. This is not surprising.
What that legal standard is eventually. But before I do, I just am trying to determine why you think it's okay a man's life was ended. So I asked you why you think it's justified. Then you went on a 3-minute rant about how he's mentally ill and was at that protest when he shouldn't have been there. So to clarify, you think that his death was justified, his murder was justified, his execution was justified because he was mentally ill, he wasn't perfect like the Democrats say, CNN photoshopped his face, and he was at a nice protest, right?
I think it was.
Was it even CNN? My understanding was that.
That's scope. If by rate of change you mean calculus intuition, then yeah, he absolutely needs some of it. Like not because every economist is out here doing dramatic blackboard derivatives all day, but because marginal analysis is everywhere. That's literally rate of change, marginal cost, marginal utility, comparative statics, optimization, growth, discounting, all that jazz. Now if the take is I don't need to be a calc do you...
My God, why is this response still so long? I told him to be even shorter. Okay, calc conditions don't require actual calc. This is true. What was even...
Democrats say CNN photoshopped his face and he was out.
Oh, I thought it was just... my understanding was not CNN that photoshopped his face. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was someone independently who had like AI generated it, and then that image got spread in news agencies. I think I don't know if CNN used it, but I know MSNBC used it. But I don't think it was them that made it.
At a nice protest, right?
I think it was justified because of his actions. That is why. Those are other things on top of it, which led to this point. But yes, in my eyes, it is justified.
Perfect. What actions?
What actions? When you're going out of your way to go to ICE protests, harass them from doing their job, you're on camera. If you, first of all, if you even look like you have he went with a gun, did he not? Did he not have a loaded gun?
Yes, he did have a gun on his holster. But you should know that in accordance with the Second, Fourth, and 14th
I don't like football.
Amendment, merely being in possession of a firearm does not...
I don't really watch sports. I don't hate football or anything, but I don't watch sports.
An LEO to literally shoot and kill you. So once again, I'll ask, what actions did he engage in that justified the shooting? You said he was harassing them. How was he harassing them that justified them literally killing him?
Okay, it's on video. You've seen the video and I've seen the video. That's what happened. You're going out of your way at a protest. He's been at many other protests. All these people are at every protest. They're known to harm people. They're harassing people. Probably on.
How is any of this relevant?
Online talking about killing ICE agents. You're gonna go to a protest with a gun and a cop sees it as you're harassing these ICE officers that are getting threatened every day. Dude, it's not even a Republican thing, a Democrat thing. It is a common.
Like why that makes it? This makes it self-defense.
Sense thing. It is a common sense thing. I would never, CCWs, I understand. I would never bring a gun to any Trump rally, anti-Trump. That is just not, it's just not a smart thing to do. That's why you end up dead.
Okay, condemn Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse? I don't, what? Condemn him? Okay, I condemn him. I don't know.
He brought an AR-15 to a protest, remember?
Yeah, that's insane.
Looks like someone made that and then uploaded it to Wikipedia.
I think that's insane. I'm not supporting Kyle Rittenhouse. I think that's nuts.
So you think that the cops would have been justified in shooting Kyle dead?
Maybe. I don't know. If the actions were different, maybe. I think if you're going to go with an AR-15 and you get shot by a cop, I don't think it's that weird whether you're Kyle Rittenhouse or whatever his name was.
Why just a maybe? I mean, this is your defense.
Incredible.
So why is it...
No shot she would ever say that in another circumstance.
It's totally justified if it was Alex Preddy, but it's maybe justified if it was Kyle Rittenhouse. Basically, what I'd suggest you say in order to stand by your principle is, and I quote, Kyle Rittenhouse should have been shot and killed.
Well, I'm not going to say he should have. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe he just didn't make
I don't know, maybe.
in a better situation. But also, he probably wasn't threatening to kill ICE agents and cops. He was probably
literally J68 considered the Trump event. True.
And also,
well, I don't think, to be fair, no one in the actual Capitol building had guns, right? Because they couldn't get in because of the magnometers.
Did he kill people, right?
Okay, so you also just made another suggestion there, that Alex Preddy threatened to shoot and kill a cop. That's not true. What's your evidence for that?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I don't know Kyle Rittenhouse situation. It was a big story. I don't care. I don't know what happened.
It was a big story. I don't care. Let's go.
He's a bad kid. I'm glad he's not dead. I don't think he should be out shooting people. I know it was self-defense.
Wait, why you glad he's not dead? I thought we were...
Self-defense, great.
I guess, Kyle Rittenhouse probably is. He might have some mental illness, actually, but I guess he's not, interfering with ICE and law enforcement officers, so...
that guy, what was it? Is he defending himself from the situation he put him in? Like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, that situation he's in is 100% avoidable. You can go into all the aspects of it. I don't care that happened to him. I think it was very stupid to be there. There's a reason it doesn't happen to me, because I wouldn't put myself in that situation, and neither would you either. It's a very stupid situation to be in. It's really not that complicated. Avoid dumb situations.
Wait, Emily.
There's a protest location. Yeah, that's mine.
Because earlier you said the world is literally better without Alex Preddy because he brought a gun to a protest. Now you're saying that you don't think that Kyle Rittenhouse is a quote-unquote bad kid, regardless of the fact that he brought a gun to a protest. So what it seems like is that bringing a gun to a protest is not the relevant factor here that leads you to the conclusion that Alex Preddy was terrible and we're better off without him, and Kyle Rittenhouse is not a bad kid, but rather political affiliation. And this is another point why I think that Donald Trump's mass deportation is so anti-American, because it's led Americans like you to think that the murder of your American brothers and sisters roaming free in the streets of this country is somehow justified simply because they disagree with you. And going back to ICE, why is it that you tell us you think every quote-unquote illegal should be deported because they broke a law and committed a federal misdemeanor, completely victimless by the way, but then when an ICE agent literally murders somebody, you don't care and you disregard it, then you come up with some quasi-justification for it when you self-admittedly do not know the legal standard that would make that shooting justified. Even going back to that legal standard, which I'll share with you now, you cannot kill somebody for merely being in possession of a firearm as an LEO, because as I previously suggested, the 2nd, 4th, and 14th Amendment, as well as previous SCOTUS case law like Connor v. Graham, which rules that there has to be an objective reasonableness to an imminent threat upon the life of anybody within the immediate vicinity of somebody that LEOs are going to shoot and kill, and merely being in
I'm sure she's internalizing this so much right now.
possession of a firearm isn't one.
She's grasping every word.
2 days after Alex Preddy got murdered, a U.S. attorney from California posted on Twitter that this is totally justified because, well, Alex Preddy brought a gun. The NRA responded by saying that that rhetoric is dangerous and wrong. So in other words, the NRA, who you likely have a membership for, says that your rhetoric is dangerous and wrong when you suggest that he could be shot and killed for merely being in possession of a firearm.
About people having a gun while aiding people harassing protesters and not protest. I don't think she's not, Chivingo, you got me. This girl is not giving a nuanced position on that. She is saying a bunch of slop, trying to justify it, saying, well, he had a gun. Well, there's videos of him harassing ICE. There's not like any solid, consistent principle here or any actual analysis that she's doing.
Firearm.
I don't have a membership to the NRA. Thank you, though. No, I think situation and context matters, and that's the whole point of this. It's not a left versus right thing. Is if you are someone who is no longer working at your job, your family's worried about you, you're clearly brainwashed by the media, you're mentally ill, you're violent, you're going out there and
like, come on, dog.
Harassing ICE agents, and you're getting these situations to be much worse than they already are, and you also have a...
I'm saying she's making a poor argument. Yeah, obviously.
You were at the point where you were like physically wrestling with ICE agents and you get shot. That is 100% an avoidable situation. You put yourself there, and I guess, yeah, some people will be like, it's sad.
He wasn't really the one that started physically wrestling with them.
It happened. Okay, well, it did. So there's nothing.
I don't remember. Did he push the ICE officer that came over after he reached out to or like he tried to pick up the woman? I forget if he pushed that ICE officer first or if he was pushed first.
You can do about it. But yeah, I think it's justified. I'm sorry.
I mean, the first 90% of what you said was baseless conjecture and reasonless rambling, okay? You just threw buzzwords out there. Mentally ill, his family didn't like him, quit his job. None of those things amount to an imminent threat upon the life of an LEO to justify them to shoot and kill you. Now, the reason why I only said 90 instead of 100 was the last thing that you said is he was wrestling with cops. Well, when I watched the video, what I saw was him positioning himself in between an officer and a woman. When that officer began to push that woman, he caught her. And then the officer maced him, put him to the ground. Next thing, he was being pistol whipped in the head by one while being dogpiled by 7. But at no point...
Where did all the fucking videos go, dog?
which would amount to justification for an officer-involved shooting, because even if he was obstructing, mere obstruction does not tell an LEO they could kill you, and even if he was resisting, mere resisting, or even resisting while being in possession of a loaded firearm, also doesn't amount to justification for an LEO to kill you. But I'd say from my perspective that he didn't do either of those two things. And
wait, hold on. This is so low quality. It was better quality than this. I think that this is a different angle. Okay, he tries to help the woman or whatever, and then someone tries to... actually, it kind of looks like maybe he pushes this guy first. He gets in the way of him. It don't look like he pushed him, though. His hands are like up in the air, and then he tries to mace him. And he's helping the woman again. He tries to get he fucking gets sprayed again. And then they start fucking getting on him. Then they start wrestling him, one might say. The trans Devon 520. This is a tad off putting. Dean sounds 2x fast forward by default. LOL. Listen to him say fast forward. The slaying fast forward is hilarious. Sounds like Eminem. That's how you know they're a true master debater. Okay.
And wrestled to the ground wasn't because of his own doing, but rather because of the lawless actions of these masked ICE thugs.
Thugs. The people literally here to protect us from illegal aliens raping and killing children are the thugs. Singular, oh, ICE agents are white supremacist Nazis, and then they're like gay Mexicans, literally asking liberals if they can please go do their job because there's a child rapist. Those things are not irrelevant. They do matter. If you are at the point where politics has made you so mentally ill that you are clearly a danger to yourself and others, probably like him and the other woman, as her whatever lesbian wife is telling her to go run over ICE agents, instead of being at home taking care of their children, then yeah, that actually does matter. Mental health matters in these
Dean already told her explicitly the legal standard here, and notably, none of this was in it.
situations because a mentally healthy person.
And how would the ICE officers know like any of this? How can it possibly be justified based on like all this information that the ICE officers wouldn't even know?
Be in that situation. They would know the danger. They would know that's not a smart thing to do. They probably would be at home with their family or at their job. And I'm like, those things do matter. A normal person does not put themselves in that situation. They did not just run out to them and shoot them. Obviously, we've both seen the videos. We clearly have different takes on the videos and takeaways from it. But in general, I'm like, that's what happens when you put yourself in very stupid, avoidable situations. And it's very sad. Happens all the time.
That's what happens.
Mentally ill because of politics here. It's you. You're telling us that a man who lost his life was not a victim of murder. The officer was justified and we're better off without him. Not on the basis of any legitimate claim in conjunction to the legality of the situation. You admitted to not knowing what justifies an LEO to shoot and kill somebody, but because of baseless conjecture. Like, Emily, we're doing it again. You're just sitting here telling me, oh, you could have avoided the situation. Oh, liberal. Oh, ICE protest. Oh, they're like, none of that matters. Like, you have to be able to demonstrate an objectively reasonable threat that Alex Freddie was engaging in to make those officers legitimately fear that if they didn't shoot him, he would have killed them first, okay? Saying that he could have avoided the situation by staying home, it does not amount to an objectively reasonable threat upon the lives of the LEOs. That's just more victim-blaming rhetoric, like the other rhetoric we hear from a lot of people on the right, like telling a woman maybe she shouldn't have gone to that bar because at that bar, she was date raped by a man. Once again, going back to that whole mentally ill because of politics thing, quite ironic that you're the one making that point.
Now she's not going to respond to the substantive point he made there. She's just going to respond to the fucking the bar rape point, isn't she?
If it was
Give it to me.
In the same position, I would have said the same thing. Like the same thing at January 6th. No one gave a shit that Ashley Babbitt got shot. They were probably happy she got shot the way liberals love to celebrate the deaths of all Republicans.
Trump paid out, what, $30 billion to her fucking family? Like, I understand maybe you don't feel that way or whatever, but certainly that's not most people on the right feel.
It was the same exact thing. No one gave a shit when they shot her, an unarmed woman. But Democrats were perfect. She shouldn't have been there. She was breaking the law. And that's what you're telling me. I'm mentally ill because I don't give a shit because he was a loser and his life didn't really have much meaning. And it sure doesn't matter to me. And I'm sorry, that's not the cute politically correct take, but that is the common sense.
I'm sorry, that's not the cute. I fucking hate this guy. We should kill him. I'm sorry that's not woke enough for you. I'm sorry if that's not woke enough. I'm sorry that's not politically correct. I fucking hate you and hope you die. It's like, what are we doing?
Okay. Sorry, he's not a productive citizen. He's not curing cancer. He's not going to be the next Elon Musk. I don't care. I don't have to care about people I don't know. But this whole thing of like, oh, you're making a...
I don't have to care about... I'm sorry if this isn't woke enough for you, liberal, but I don't care about people I don't know. And if they're liberal, I hope they die.
No, if my Republican friend was in that situation and brought a gun and was wrestling agents and got shot, I'd be like, you were an idiot.
You have a little time left, so I just got to ask you a quick question. So just to clarify, you think that a nurse at a veterans hospital who helped save the lives of those that were willing to lose their lives for us in war, protecting our Constitution, our inalienable natural-born rights, is a f***ing loser doing nothing productive for society, right?
That's a base take if they agree with me. They should die. I know.
Does not mean you're a productive member of society, because that would mean that I trust the...
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that you just took the mask off, and unfortunately I can't tell you why because the red light just went off.
This is like rage bait.
I kind of forgot how crazy your beliefs are, Emily.
They're literally just what everyone who has common sense thinks, but they don't have the balls to say out loud, because you have to do the
really
politically correct bullshit of acting like we f***ing care. My first face-off claim is Democrats are the biggest threat to children in this country.
So clearly the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you for your argument insofar as why you think Democrats are the biggest threat to children in this country. But I want you to keep in mind the hurdles that you have to overcome, most predominantly the fact that the GOP, not the Democrats, are championing an adjudicated rapist as president, somebody who's also boasted about the sexual exploitation of women and girls by barging into their dressing rooms and looking at their naked bodies.
There's going to be immigration memes or whatever, right? And maybe Dean's going to do some Epstein memes and stuff. Kill me.
On top of the cover-up we see downstream of Donald Trump's administration of the federal government of the co-conspirators, predators, and child rapists.
How'd I know?
So once again, why do you think Democrats are the biggest threat to children in this country?
Okay, first of all, the whole rapist claim is so insane to me. How many people have been sued for calling him a rapist? That's not true. He's not a rapist, or else he would have been charged, and I assume he would have been in jail for that. So throwing that out is not a good way to go about it. You know better than that. I'm sure you understand laws a lot better than I do. That's not my strong field. Not a convicted rapist.
And I'm fairly certain he understands that the reason he wasn't charged is because it was outside of the statute of limitations, and also because it was or actually it might not have been. Hold on, it might have been outside of the criminal statute of limitations, but I think the dispute there is with regards to it. They passed a law to extend the statutes of limitations, which allowed E. Jean Carroll to sue or whatever. But like, obviously, there's a much higher burden for a criminal case than there was a civil one. So, you know, it makes sense why someone might want to do a civil case, because it's very hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he raped E. Jean Carroll or whatever, but not necessarily as difficult to prove that he, on the preponderance of evidence, did. Okay, but the New York civil court case law.
Okay, I would not support him if he was a so throw better than I do. That's not my strong field. Not a convicted rapist. Okay, I would not support him if he was a convicted rapist. Nor would other Republicans. The comments of locker room boy talk. I don't care. I don't care what people are saying behind closed doors.
Fucking thing there.
For a man. Okay, so my issues
was Hunter ever convicted of possession, of a firearm or of child or of some child shit? Of a firearm, I thought he was one of his crimes was whatever, possession of a firearm after lying on the fucking form because he said he didn't do drugs when he did drugs.
The border, okay? When we're talking about protecting children, a wide open border is not how I would protect children whatsoever. Okay?
How'd I know?
1,000 missing children under the Biden's open borders. That's a lot. We can agree that's a lot.
That's just a meme. That's not even the fucking meme number people usually say. 400,000 now?
Children whatsoever. Okay, 450,000
drug silly. I mean, we're talking, I didn't know for sure because we were talking about Epstein and fucking Donald Trump rape shit. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was. I don't know the exact charge or anything, but I thought it was related to the possession of a firearm after lying on the whatever form, because he said he wasn't doing any drugs, but he was fucking snorting coke.
Missing children under the Biden's open borders. That's a lot. We can border is not how I would protect children whatsoever. Okay, 450,000 missing children under the Biden.
450,000. The number last I heard was 300,000 or whatever, and it also just refers to. My understanding is it's like literally just like. I forget the exact details of it, but it's not, those are not like 400,000, 50,000 like genuinely missing children. It's like parents who didn't immediately answer the phone call of certain whatever agency, and it's, I don't know, it's not ICE, but it's some agency in charge of that shit. I don't even think it's within the DHS, but I could be wrong. And report immediately the whereabouts of whatever child. 450,000 children missing. Immigration.
Biden's open borders. That's a lot. We can agree that's a lot. That's unbelievable numbers. Trump so far, his administration has located 145,000 of those missing children. Why were those children missing? How did they go missing? Why was no one looking for them? I think that's a big deal. I don't like blaming in necessarily administrations. I'm just glad the kids are back. I'm sure we can agree with that, right? We're continuing to look for them. So obviously with the open border, you have child trafficking, you have organ harvesting, okay? That's what's happening at these borders. Kids are going with, you know, addresses on their wrists, and they're going to be pretty much sold and raped for the rest of their lives until they inevitably.
Oh, it is ICE. What? Immigration and Customs Enforcement could not monitor all unaccompanied minors released from the agency's custody. It didn't say the children were missing or lost. DHS told PolitiFact in February that the administration had located more than 145,000 children through visits and door knocks.
Probably kill themselves from being that traumatized. So I would say closing the border, which Trump has done pretty well, is the number one way to protect kids. Okay, we have to keep those bad people out. We have to keep the kids in. We have to find the kids, and that is the hub of child trafficking. It's hard for Democrats to debate this. Abortion, which is killing a lot of kids every year. Not exactly a strong.
True. Let's go. How I should have predicted that one.
Republicans are not really the pro-abortion party. You have transgenderism, which is ruining children, and they're also dying from it and killing themselves at record numbers. Democrats
okay.
Defending children. 2025, the House passed the Preventing Violence Act, Women by Illegal Aliens Act. So this is pretty much just crimes against children, sex offense, blah, blah, blah. Every single no came from Democrats. I just don't understand. I want to understand, why would you vote no for that? It's protecting children. It's just, it shouldn't even be a left versus right thing, which drives me nuts.
The reason Democrats voted no against that bill is because there's already pre-existing law on the book to allow our government to deport somebody on the basis of an accusation, or more so conviction, of a violent sex crime. So clearly the reason why Democrats voted no is not to give flowers to Nancy Mace that she doesn't deserve, alongside the fact that it's incredibly hypocritical for, as I started this debate with suggesting, to say that you care about violent sex crimes when you may have violent sex criminal presidents.
Okay, I mean, what would your opinion be on the Lagan-Riley Act?
That's all you responded to, really?
Obviously very talked about.
If I was president,
I mean, I guess I don't know how to respond. Like, especially to format this is in, there's just no way to respond to all the like just crazy slop. But
veto it. I think that it's terrible for women and girls abroad because it allows for the deportation of an undocumented immigrant on the basis of an accusation of a violent crime, which then means they'll be deported with no guilty verdict to another country where they will be able to roam free and recommit. At the bare minimum, we should be finding them guilty first, so they'll either land in a jail cell in another country or get thrown in prison here.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, so then are you going through a trial first and keeping them in the country until we know that they're guilty? Or are we just allowing them to go and then we're assuming they're guilty? Like, how does that work? Because I know Democrats are very like, gotta go by the book. No one's above the law. So like how would that work? What would you prefer?
Dog. That was the best way you could phrase that. Democrats are very rule of law, gotta go by the book.
That would make the bill better, I guess.
I mean, I just told you what's wrong with the Lake and Riley Act is that it deports people on the basis of an accusation or allows for the deportation of somebody on the basis of an accusation of a violent sex crime, and they roam free in another country where they could recommit. That's the problem. What we should be doing is we should be keeping them in jail.
I do like, we're doing the Nicholas Decker argument here. Let's go, though. Let's go.
Here, in custody here, finding them guilty here, and then deporting them to a jail cell abroad, or like I already said, putting them in a jail cell here.
Okay, so obviously you would support them going back to where they came from and serving their jail time where they came from, not here in America.
The only thing that I care about is a reliable criminal justice system where I know they won't be able to roam free on the streets of any country on the face of planet Earth. If their home country has one of those, send them back and put them in a jail cell there.
What if the home country doesn't have that? Do we keep them here?
Yes.
So we keep them here even though they're violent? We keep them in jail? We keep them away from children? Or do we just let them roam free?
We would...
Yeah, he really implied that we would let them roam free.
Probably put somebody found guilty of a violent sex crime in jail.
Well, we tend not to. That's my issue. We have, I cover it on my show. 4 times a week, there's usually a black male with a rap sheet of 45 pages that's committed, he's attacked women, he's assaulted women, he's attempted to rape women, potentially child porn in the past. And then we see he goes and lights a woman on fire because these DAs that are always Democrats under people like George Soros tend to just let them go.
I knew it.
Over and over and over. And I'm like, would you agree we need to keep them in prison? I don't think you should have 45 strikes. I just don't think that works.
That quote-unquote black male that's been found guilty of rape that's roaming...
Stop, you're scaring Nodva.
Actually a billionaire white man named Donald
Trump. I'm freaked out right now.
2 years ago, a civil court held him liable for the rape of E. Jean Carroll, and you still voted for him. You're a hypocrite.
Okay. The E. Jean Carroll... Okay, so he's guilty, so he's a rapist. Why is he not in jail?
Because, I'll help you with knowledge about the criminal justice system inside of America. Civil courts determine financial responsibility, not criminal responsibility. So when he was found guilty, he wasn't put in a jail cell. He was only forced to pay $87 million. And before he asked, the reason why he couldn't or wasn't found guilty inside of a criminal court of law is because of the statute of limitations on the crime had expired, meaning even if
it was expired, I'm right.
A video of it happening to her, she was not able to pursue criminal charges. Therefore, a claim of liability in a civil court of law was the best option she had available.
$87 million for saying something happened to you. With relatively no proof.
Incredibly responsive to everything he said.
Attacked men on the planet.
Thank you. A high IQ.
I would say, I'm sure you're, protect women, care about women, feminism. I would say she's the epitome of what makes these cases complete jokes and why people don't believe women about a lot of things they say, including rape, sexual assault. She's a crazy woman who lives in the... First of all, $87 million is unbelievable. That's actually unbelievable for something that you literally can't prove. And I'm just like, so it happened that long ago. You happen to be a crazy liberal feminist.
Do you think it's crazy that what is Donald Trump wants the DOJ to pay him out $200 million for the investigations into him? I think we're like $230 million or something that he wanted. Like, bro. Final listens when he has Benchoni's wrong. He feels the cognitive dissonance. He will join us and praise a Taylor. True.
Feminist, you live in the woods, you do all this crazy art, whatever bullshit she's doing, and all of a sudden when someone's president and has power and every 3-letter agency and all these people attempted assassinations, all of a sudden now you're traumatized from something that happened that long ago. Trump was born into money, successful, has been around beautiful women his whole life. Why? There's no world where I believe he would even touch that woman, nevertheless rape her.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that you said there. So first and foremost, you said, wow, she was able to sue him and find him guilty of rape with no proof. I don't believe that you've done research into the case. What is one piece of evidence that the jury used to hold Donald Trump liable for raping her?
Okay, so she's in the fitting room at the store. She claims that all this has happened. It's like, that's just not even realistic. None of this has happened. How come she didn't come by 30, 20 plus years ago? Are there tapes of this? Are there evidence? You also have everyone around.
How does her brain work in this way? I can't imagine answering a question like that.
To her who's willing to lie for her. You have a justice system who completely wants to put this guy in jail because they can't attempt to assassinate him. There's nothing.
I would imagine not.
Actually raped by predators on the street. who have real results can go and get a rape kit.
And now we're not even talking about the case anymore.
They don't get $87 million. Like, it's
oh, no, she brought it back. Never mind.
It was Biden or Trump. You look at it, of course she's a liar. There's no reason she deserved $1 for that. There is not substantial proof. Did she have a rape kit? Is there semen in her? Is there any of this? No, she just sued Donald Trump and he had to pay her money. And it's like, no one's getting raped and getting $87 million. It's crazy. When you step back and you take Trump out of it, if it was anyone else, you'd be like, that's nuts. But because it's Trump, no one can just look through it with like logical glasses on. It's just like, oh yeah, he's a rapist.
Yeah, you just wasted a minute of your time because I asked you what's one piece of evidence that the jury used to find him guilty, and you sure talked a lot, but you didn't name a piece of evidence. So I'll help you. There was a lot of evidence that the jury used in order to hold Donald Trump guilty for the rape of Eugene Carroll.
I understand it's a limited time, but I would just ask her again and let her ramble again. It'd be so funny. It'd be so funny.
Definitely, you had her own testimony alongside the testimony of 7 of her friends. You had therapist notes from the 90s indicating that she was raped by Donald Trump. You had a dress that she submitted to the court claiming it had Trump's DNA in it from the day that he raped her. And in response, they tested it, found male DNA, asked Trump for his DNA, and he said, no, 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 until the discovery period was over. That's something a guilty man would do. Then on top of that, you had the inconsistencies and lies within his own testimony. To start with those, he first claimed that he never met Eugene Carroll. She responded to the court by submitting a picture of the two together. That's a lie. He also claimed that he never do that to her because she isn't his type, but then under deposition actually confused a picture of his ex-wife, Marla Maples, to be Eugene Carroll. So how crazy does she sound now? Honestly, that just kind of sounds like victim blaming. And on top of that, I'd say the silver bullet is his character priors. 2005 Access Hollywood tapes, what did he say? He said that he could just grab any woman by their female member. He doesn't even need to ask first. That's exactly what the jury...
No, I shouldn't have said that. She's just going to focus on that stuff. She's just going to say, oh, Trump says these crazy things all the time. That's all she's going to focus on, isn't she?
Found him guilty for doing. Grabbing Eugene Carroll by her female member without asking first, then inserting his fingers inside. And what about another civil bullet here? In 2005, he also sat down with Howard Stern and straight up told Howard Stern that he had sexually exploited naked women and naked girls by barging into their dressing rooms at Miss Teen USA and Miss USA, and then would look at their naked bodies. That's something a rapist would do, so I don't understand why you are toeing the line, doing everything you can to defend that rapist.
I'm not defending him. I don't believe the evidence. I think it's completely insane. I don't believe her. She's out of her mind. I don't believe anyone who is trying to take down the president.
Fine, you just lost time to look up the rate of change at Wiki, and Wiki, it's just not, I don't know what you want me to, I mean, he sent it. I don't know what you want me to look at or do there.
On that level would be honest with something that happened that long ago.
I have limited time here. Your time is up. You can't speak. In your last breath, you straight up told me that you don't believe her, you don't believe the evidence after not responding to any of the pieces of evidence that I told you. It seems like you were brainwashed into this worldview where you were willing to ignore reality, believe the lies, and discount the testimony of a survivor. And that makes sense because that's what the totality of the GOP is doing right now with the survivors from the Epstein files. Pam Bondi wouldn't even look at them. I'm going to use the rest of my time to play you the clip of Donald Trump admitting to sexual exploitation, and I expect at no point in the future of this debate will you acknowledge it, address it, or talk about it at all, because just like with Eugene Carroll and the fact that she was raped, you're going to sweep it under the rug too.
She was, well, what's the
okay, I don't care. I've seen the clip. I don't care to watch the clip.
Off the change to then look at them naked is acceptable, and you in fact even find it funny just like he did.
You could be right about everything in the world. It doesn't even matter. Never even gonna move a needle. Literally everyone's gonna watch this. They're gonna agree with you and me and just go on with their life. Like you're never gonna make a difference.
You'd be surprised.
That's real.
Heard about the difference that I made.
Like what? What did you say someone's life?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, you're not saving anyone's life,
No,
bro.
no,
You're so narcissistic.
It's a real story. My next face-off claim is Donald Trump wishes he could be a dictator.
Like my what's up, Clip for the K? My fucking 9-year-old brother. He's older than 9 by now. 12 or 13-year-old brother watches Dean, bro. He gets Dean on his TikTok, Instagram Reels. I feel like we're ending soon. I'll end after I watch this video. But like Dean does definitely have some impact on the fucking youth. Okay, I used to drive him to soccer practice every like Wednesday, and he would know the fucking news because he would get it from Dean. And I'm mostly okay with that because at 9 years old, I'm not going to be able to teach him about some of the slop. But, you know, he's not 9. He's like 13. I keep saying 9, though. But.
Okay. I mean, he has a lot of power right now, leader of the free world. So
what the fuck your brother being indoctrinated? He is, for real.
Why is he not doing it? Why, when people are going and attempting to assassinate him, rioting on the streets, why is he not?
Hold on, what was that? I totally forgot the fucking prompt even.
Yeah, you're not saving anyone's life, bro. You're so narcissistic. Okay. I mean, he has a lot of power right now.
Next face-off claim is Donald Trump wishes he could be a dictator.
Ooh.
Okay. I mean, he has a lot of power right now, leader of the free world. So why is he not doing it? Why, when people are going and attempting to assassinate him, rioting on the streets, why is he not banning people, kicking them out of the country? I don't know. Why isn't he more of a dictator?
I literally, arguably has kicked people out of the country for like anti-Israel speech.
I feel like he has the power. He should.
Well, it's funny that you make that point because I'd actually...
2028, who would you vote for? AOC and Marco Rubio? Probably AOC. Probably AOC. I think just Marco Rubio's... I don't like the Venezuelan bill strike stuff. I don't even like the fact... Like, it's difficult for me to even... Like, if you're willing to work with Trump... and Marco Rubio, obviously, he's pretty close with Trump. Like he's not like some aide that might have objections to what Trump is doing, but is like distant enough that he convinces himself it's okay. Like Marco Rubio has 4 fucking jobs right now all because of Trump, right? Like that shows you probably are not the best character. I don't exactly know what Marco Rubio's policy would even look like nowadays, because I feel like he would have to. Rubio wouldn't do tariffs. I agree. I don't think Bernie would do destructive tariffs. I think Bernie would do like some cringe fucking pro-union and stuff, and probably do some tariffs that are in his view pro-worker. But Marco's a good boy. I mean, I think he showcases his character. It's clearly not that great, and I think in order to stand any chance of winning, you would have to accept some type of there's just no world in which I see the next Republican candidate being like a normie moderate Republican who is anywhere close to like Mitt Romney or something. It's good. They're going to have to accept some populist nonsense in their platform. They're going to have to do that to appeal to people. So who'd you rather Secretary of State other than Marco in the current context? He's probably the best choice, to be fair. But like, I think he's still quite bad. Whoever picks Bernie over Rubio should never be called a neoliberal. Okay, that seems like a don't quite John Bolton. Yeah, true. Hillary Clinton is my answer. Chipper.
Argue that he has tried to position himself above the law, above the Constitution, above Congress even.
Then no bash Marco, please. I can't. What do you mean? I can think someone is bad, and also think that by working with someone who is really bad, they have showcased kind of how bad their character is, or like their willingness to kind of sell out or whatever. Like I think that is a showcase of bad character, like I said, and also think that like, realistically, there's no one getting through the Senate that would be. Or no one Republicans would approve of, in the Senate, that would be a better option than Rubio. Not realistically, at least.
I think that there's a great argument that I could give you to demonstrate how that's the case. So in the last year and a couple months, that's how long he's been president, I believe that he's infringed upon Article 1 of the Constitution, Article 2 of the Constitution, then Amendment 1, 2, 5, 4, 10, 14, and 22. And we could go through that now, because if that's all true, then I think you'll kind of see some credibility in my claim about how he wants to position himself as a dictator.
AOC worked with Hassan Piker, though. That's true. Rubio 2016 or Kamala in 2024. I don't know enough about Rubio in 2016, but you could. I mean, I could see voting for Rubio in that case. I'm trying to think of what I would find bad from 2016 Rubio. That would be sufficient. Maybe if there was like some especially kind of dumb tax cuts, but I don't really think he would do that. Or maybe some especially big welfare cuts, but I don't think he would do that. So.
Well, the Constitution above Congress, yada, yada, yada. So let's start with the amendments.
Trump's boyfriend's wife.
I think that he served as a threat to the First Amendment when he suggested that it's now illegal to criticize him in the media. I think that he suggested a threat to the Second Amendment when he told his Department of Justice to try to find any way to ban any and all gun ownership for all law-abiding trans-American citizens. The NRA agreed with me, by the way. I think that he's infringed on the Fourth Amendment when he gave an order to ICE to arrest people without any judicial warrants. That is blatantly illegal. Courts have ordered and ruled as such. Same thing.
He would just do to taxes. I don't even think Rubio, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know if 2016 Rubio would do that.
Deportation of like 300 Venezuelan immigrants to Econ and El Salvador with no due process. Judge ruled that was illegal. Donald Trump said, I don't care. I think that he's infringed on the 10th Amendment via illegally deploying the National Guard in Illinois. SCOTUS actually gave their opinion on the subject matter. They said it was unconstitutional. He's definitely infringed on the 14th Amendment. He did that day one with Executive Order number 14160, where he tried to take birthright citizenship away from the children born to undocumented immigrants on American soil. They've had that since 1868 with the ratification of the 14th. He can't do that. Same thing with the 22nd Amendment. He's just going to serve a threat to that via the resuggestion that he wants to run for a third term. Then we look at Article 1 of the Constitution.
She's just going to focus on that. She's just going to say he's obviously joking about that.
He's
going to be the
1 and 2
lamest response.
The Constitution via the suggestion that if Congress doesn't pass voter ID laws, he'll just do it on its own. He can't assume the power of Congress. That's illegal. Then same thing with like national.
No, I agree with this. I just don't think he. Maybe think the tax cuts and job tax was more controversial at the time than it was. It might have been somewhat uncontroversial at the time or whatever. But I doubt most of his stuff would go as far as Trump's stuff. He would definitely want to do tax cuts and some cuts to the welfare state. I don't know if you could get away with how much you could get away with entitlement reductions, but ultimate hypothetical, if you had to decide between if you're neoliberal, Millet or AOC. Oh man. what would Milei even do here, bro? I don't know what he would do here. Obviously cut a ton of welfare, and I could see him being worse if he like completely fucked our financial sector. If we literally did fucking free banking or some shit, but I don't think he'd do that. So I think we'd probably just get a ton of welfare cuts, and I think under AOC you'd probably get a lot more welfare and probably some dumb pro-labor and antitrust policies. I think probably you could repair any damage from LA easier than stuff from AOC. I feel like it'd be harder to cut or to cut any expansion that AOC does. But I also don't know enough about Milei to feel confident in that. So, and I also don't think I am skeptical how much AOC could even get done, even with a relatively favorable Congress for her.
The midterm elections, that's also illegal. The Constitution gives that ability to the states. And this is just kind of scratching the surface, but clearly I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. I know that you don't really know too much about the law or the Constitution, so let's start there.
Okay.
Sway him against any imaginable alternative. Marco, I don't know you. Is Dean doing well? Yeah, well, yes, he's doing very well, but part of that, although I do think Dean is the kill debater and such, it's just because this girl is really stupid. And, you know, I think this debate actually has been pretty decent with regards to like some of the memes that I think Dean does sometimes, and sometimes what I think Dean just kind of like rhetoric maxes or whatever, and it's not like that substantive. I think he's actually done above average in this debate, partially because the girl's so stupid that it's easy for him to do or whatever. But it seems does Dean have correct talking points? Yeah, I think I've I mean, he's like he did some stuff about Epstein earlier that I don't fully agree with. I can't think of anything else that I really disagreed with that he said so far. The problem is I don't know if he would do anything because Argentina had very integrated government entities due to Perona's policy. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I don't know. He couldn't really do the same things here. He could like that's why I'm like worried that he would try to do like fucking free banking or some shit that he probably is just not a priority in Argentina. What did you not agree with? I don't agree with to the extent that like people think Trump is like hardcore covering up the Epstein files because they show he fucking raped a girl. I just maybe I'm missing something, but I just like don't see strong evidence in that. I think probably is the case that Raimondi and the DOJ are like hesitant to release some things, and my understanding they have withdrawn or like they have taken down some pictures and some documents that are embarrassing to Trump or whatever. But I don't know. I think people insinuate way too much about some of that stuff sometimes. And I think plausibly some of the stuff they've taken down is legitimate concern for victims, but or witnesses and stuff. But I don't know.
Jesus, go back to the first one.
So you just want me to pick something? Okay, I'll just
just first three, just go so I can like remember what you're even saying.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just pick an example because that was a lot. A really good example of him infringing on the Constitution, positioning himself above it, and kind of telling me that he wants to be an authoritarian would be his infringement on the 14th Amendment, where he tried to take birthright citizenship away from the children born to undocumented immigrants on American soil, even though the 14th Amendment gives them that right.
Okay, and I just don't.
She's not going to engage with like the legality at all here, is she? Nothing listens to sample text propaganda. That's true. This is true. Now I read obviously sample text is we talked about the Epstein stuff a little bit because he's read like a bunch of fucking Michael Tracy stuff. So obviously I've seen some of that stuff from him, but you know, I have some understanding. I read a little bit of Richard Anania stuff about it, but I haven't done that much reading on it or anything, to be fair. So I
don't agree with that. I don't agree. First of all, them getting citizenship, I don't think that it should be like that. I see there's way too much going on. You have illegals coming.
I mean, what do you expect? He's Jewish. What do you expect? What do you expect?
I mean, here they're having kids, and then they're getting citizenship. We have overwhelming amount of like, Jesus, you can call them baby making houses in Orange County, where it's literally just a bunch of Chinese women in a house, and they're just pregnant, and they're giving citizenship to their kids. So I don't know. I don't personally. I don't think that should be legal. I don't think we should be giving that to them. Of course.
Yeah, she's not actually engaging with it at all. She's just saying, "Well, I don't like that. It is the case that this is the law." So
I agree with that. I just think it's interesting.
What are the poly market odds in the birthright citizenship thing? Last I checked, it was not like 97% they rule against them. It's gotta be a little lower now, right? Oh, don't worry, guys. That's 95%.
Interesting though, because first of all, I know when he's talking about the third term, he's joking. And I know it's like,
yeah, I knew we were going to do this.
Like that. That's fine. I'm going to get into that. I would say, what about the Biden administration, pressuring like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and all this stuff to either like suppress information from Twitter and all these things? Like, would you
not even like important to the claim technically?
You say that was too...
It's not a relative claim. It's just Donald Trump wishes he could be a dictator.
Or do you think that's justified?
So I don't mind talking about the Biden-Harris administration with you and having a conversation about potential executive overreach there. I just want to ensure productive linear conversation, which would include going point by point. But I hope that we have enough time to go over that because I'd love to before the clock ends. Now, to respond to your first comments about the 14th Amendment, I don't expect you to think that the children born to undocumented immigrants should be birthright citizens, okay? Emily, you're a crazy radical conservative. Look back at the debate that we've had. It would be a needle in a haystack and such a surprise for you to tell me otherwise, that you do think they should have birthright citizenship. And I hear this from every conservative ever. When I make this point about him infringing on the 14th Amendment, the first response is always, well, I don't think the children born to them should have birthright citizenship. But that's not what matters here. What matters here is, regardless of what you think, Donald Trump positioned himself above the Constitution. Regardless of what you think about the 14th Amendment, Donald Trump attempted to terminate it as it stands with an executive order. Regardless of what you think, that is dictatorial. That is authoritarian. Checks and balances matter. The Constitution matters. Congress matters. The Supreme Court matters. No one person should have the ability to completely change the laws as they've existed since 1868 with one signature on one piece of paper. And that's what I want you to respond to.
No, that's fair. If you want to go, I'm giving an opinion. I don't think they should have citizenship, and I think that he should go about it legally. If he doesn't like it, I think he should legally go about it and, attempt to put forth in front of the American people to change it. But
okay, so do you think it like represents any type of dictatorial intent or like authoritarian intent that he's trying to do it in a almost certainly not legal way? Frank
incentives to downplay or mishandle the case. Yeah, obviously. That's not even conspiracy brained. That's just looking at how elite protection works. If the claim is the full cinematic version where every rumor is true and every ambiguity proves some giant coordinated plot, then that's where people get cooked. Epstein attracts insane amounts of motivated reasoning because the guy was genuinely connected, genuinely protected for a long time, and then died under absurdly suspicious circumstances. So people take real irregularities and build fanfic on top of them. So some skepticism is warranted. Total certainty about the most maximalist version? No, that's copium for people who want the story to neatly explain everything.
I guess that response wasn't that long. Apparently David Axelrod met with the Pope today. Who? Former Obama advisor. Unless the student loans, that's perfectly okay. What do you mean? What the hell?
I don't think he should just go and do whatever he wants, because when every administration does usually
EOs obviously I don't even think it's I don't think it's remotely debatable that Biden's EO canceling student loan debt was in good faith, at least much more good faith than the Donald Trump EO about birthright citizenship. I don't even think that is in anywhere close of a comparison.
Whatever they want. They do a lot of things that I think are overreach and illegal, and they should all be held to the same standard. It's not, I'm sure Trump overreaches, Biden overreaches.
I'm joking, he should run.
Overreach.
The campaign advisor or the Pope? The Pope should run, that'd be goated.
They've all overreached, so it's just like, I agree.
Actually, is he still? Was at one point, but he probably had to renounce it to be the fucking king of Vatican City, right?
To go about it the legal way. I think we should have some order in the country for once.
See, student loans are okay. It's not, okay. You're going to give an argument for why it's quote unquote okay. I do think the Supreme Court ruled it was illegal or whatever, at least the initial waiver or whatever. But I think it's almost it's like it's obvious there's a difference between, you know, I think Biden's student loan forgiveness program or whatever, you know, I'm not certain the confidence he had in his in him being right about the legality of that or whatever, right? But certainly whatever it was infinitely higher and probably done in like good faith, as in like I actually think I can do this and not just I want to be able to do this, as opposed to Trump, who I don't think had, well, maybe Trump himself is retarded, but like, you know, Trump, who there's no good reason to believe he has the power to do this. And it's pretty like it's in the Constitution, and I understand you can dispute the terms, the jurisdiction thereof, right? Like I understand you can dispute that, but like there's clearly a much more foundational legal basis there, and that it's a literal clause in the Constitution, as opposed to Biden's interpretation of just, you know, the I don't remember what law it was, but it was a law passed by Congress, right? None of it was in the fucking Constitution. When the court said told him no, and he said he'd find some other way to do it anyway, that's because you can take different routes to do something. And some of them are legal, some of them are illegal. You can do something in a legal way, you can do something in an illegal way, and also the scope was obviously decreased by that. I don't think canceling student loan debt on its own represents like any type of anti-American or unconstitutional principle, right? Like that just doesn't matter of policy. I don't think is the case. I think you could argue that birthright citizenship, that does kind of undermine something that's more foundational to our country, right? Like obviously not foundational because 1860s or whatever, Reconstruction Amendment, right? But you know, been in the Constitution for much longer, or it's in the Constitution, B, it's been around for longer. That's clearly a much more American principle than simply student loan debt or whatever, but our country is built on student debt. This is true, though. This is true. So that's number one. Number two, there's nothing in principle wrong with if the court says the way you went about doing X action was illegal, for you to say, I'm going to do it under a different authority. Now, if the birth tourism, wow, true, whoa. I don't think what I said was like disputable there. It like, you can say you don't like it. You can say, you know, it leads to bad outcomes even, right? But aren't you supposed to not care about outcomes? Aren't you supposed to care about the fundamental principles or whatever? Clearly, birthright citizenship is a much bigger part of our culture, much bigger part of our tradition, much bigger part of our country than student loan debt is, right? That's not. I don't think that's debatable. I don't even think that's debatable, dog. When Biden did it under a different authority, you know, that the scope of the program had to be reduced as well.
Okay, so it actually seems like you might agree with my claim that he wants to be a dictator. Now, no? Well, I mean, what else could he do? There's no document above the Constitution. What else could he do to prove to you that he wants to be a dictator?
Be a
if you
dictator.
agree that he doesn't care about the Constitution, if you agree he doesn't care about the checks and balances, if you agree he doesn't care about the Supreme Court of Congress, like what else could he possibly do to convince you that he wants to be a dictator?
By being a dictator. Look at people you consider dictators.
Dog.
Around the world. Why doesn't he just behave like...
Also, Biden attacked SCOTUS in a similar way when they rejected his claim. Yeah, that as well. And there's just like... Why does the Pope look like some dude from the Middle East? He's from Chicago. That's why.
Why doesn't he just throw out the book and be like, all right, all these people protesting, throw them in jail. Freedom of speech, gone. Not allowed to criticize me. Shut down every other station that's, I don't know, Fox and Newsmax. Maybe he likes them, right? Put political opponents in jail. Go, you know, I mean, the assassination attempts on his life, or, you know, it's like, look who's just, you know, testifying in front of Epstein file. Like, why doesn't he just go be a dictator if he's capable of it? I mean, the thing is, the United States is like, you are the leader of the free world. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of power over other countries as well. So it's like, so just go. So why isn't he doing it then? Because I feel like with the, amount of like attempts to ruin his life, his career, going after his family, his safety, assassination attempts, I feel like he's handled it pretty well. He doesn't seem too bitter or upset about it. So I'm like, why doesn't he just go do it? Like, who would you like him to be more like? And who do you consider a real dictator? And is he like them?
Okay, yeah, let me respond to everything that you said. So I think that you made a really good point and you don't even know it. You said he's capable of it. I don't think that he is fully capable of it. And in fact, I think that's why he's not a full-blown dictator, mask-off authoritarian. Because we do have checks and balances. We do have a body of people that sit on the Capitol building all day that could strike him down and talk to members of his administration. We do have judges that rule a lot of the things that he does as illegal. And sometimes those orders will stick. The administration will get checked. You and I just never hear about it because of Steve Bannon's tactic of flooding the zone and doing something new whenever they lose. But my point is even though we have these checks and balances, even though we have Congress, even though we have the courts, okay, he is still pushing the limits to a level never seen before in this country's history. All right, starting in 2020 with his fake elector scheme of installing fake votes for himself in Congress to rig and steal the election.
Oh, we got there finally.
Only reason why that didn't work is because of Mike Pence. He wouldn't have been a dictator. Oh, he loves the people too on that day, by the way. Pardon the 174 people that tried to kill cops. Moving on to all the constitutional infringements that he's made in the last year that I told you, definitely indicative of authoritarianism. Saying that he wants to, I don't know, nationalize the midterm elections. That doesn't ring a bell for you, like maybe a little bit authoritarian. And every day he does something new to demonstrate to you, me, and the rest of the world that that is what he wants, and he would like a dictatorship, and he wouldn't like any checks and balances. Because if he were to respect the checks and balances, then why do I have so much ammunition, so many talking points, and so many facts that I'm sharing with you right now to demonstrate otherwise? If he likes the Constitution, why the hell did he call for its termination? If he likes elections, why the hell did he try to prevent one in 2020? If he likes Congress, why did he say that he could federalize elections and take that power away from states and pass laws without them? If he likes courts, then why the hell did he try to ignore the court's order that ruled some of his deportations as illegal? And if he likes the Supreme Court and their rulings on the Constitution, then why the hell doesn't he respect their previous rulings on the nature of the 14th Amendment when he attempted to argue that it didn't apply to the children born to undocumented immigrants? The obvious answer to all these questions is, well, clearly he doesn't like the checks and balances, and if he doesn't like the checks and balances, then my claim that he wants to be a dictator is true.
I would have compared him to Viktor Orban too, because he asked for people he was like or whatever. And like Viktor Orban is not like full-blown dictator, but Trump has been friendly to Viktor Orban in the past. He literally spoke at fucking at CPAC, right? Like Trump has clearly been inspired by Orban to some extent, and many of the things that he wants to do with the unitary executive theory stuff is pretty similar to the Viktor Orban model. The only thing with Mike Pence has done that was worth a damn. Truk. Erdogan. Yeah.
He doesn't have much time,
well.
correct? So why doesn't he just go do all these things? That's what I don't understand. If he wants to do it, this is the only time left. He has power to do all these
FDR
things.
Orban wishes.
I think he's been really weak across the board with a lot of these things.
I don't even remember that.
Close the border, mass deportations. I don't want wars. I don't want money.
Even the closing the border things, probably not. That's also probably not legal. Even Biden's executive order with regards to shutting down the asylum, or declaring whatever emergency to essentially shut down asylum if they weren't coming from port of entry. Even that was struck down for the most part by the courts. So what Trump is doing on the border now is way beyond that, and it's like almost certainly completely illegal.
Going to other countries. I want every single legal out. I want harsher crimes for bad people, murders.
None of this is responsive to anything.
And all these things in this country. And, we would like to get mortgage rates down and make the country better and more affordable.
Mr. I know Trump did January 6th, but have you considered that we need to bring mortgage rates down? So he's actually not a dictator because he wants to bring mortgage rates down.
People, and he's not delivering on a lot.
Even that was... I'm not familiar with the legal authority here or anything, but to my knowledge, was him ordering, not Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, but it was him ordering the government to do something it had not done before. Certainly the president had not ordered them to do before, which was intervene in the mortgage market by buying a bunch of fucking bonds. I'm sure FDR never threatened the other branches to get his way. I know FDR did that.
A lot of those, and I can admit that. You know what I mean? You should be criticizing the person you elected, which I don't really see on the other side. You have Harry and all these people. Biden's just perfect. He's healthy. He's done everything right. But I'm like, the thing is, you got to be able to call it out when other people do it as well. Like I said,
it was Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
We have checks and balances. He needs to go by the law, or else we kind of just throw everything out, and then I don't know what we are anymore as a country. But at the same time, I want that standard health.
FDR hate is so based.
Administration's gone. I don't think we should have to pass all the time. But I also want that whoever wins next, because I don't know who it's going to be.
I know it is some pretty wacky things, and some of the New Deal programs were probably not that great, but I don't know enough about them to say confidently stuff.
To be honest, I want them held to that as well. So I want people like you speaking out when they're doing things like, I think it's crazy to remove him off social media, to pressure Facebook, to force people. I mean, all of our accounts were deleted, doctors were taken off. So it's like, I just want that same energy consistently, no matter who's in charge. And you should be smart enough to see through the bullshit on that. And you should agree with that.
Okay, I think that you're clearly drowning in this debate. I think I've effectively demonstrated that my claim that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator is true. And now you're just merely asking me to give that same energy to the other administration. So if you want me to have a conversation with you about Biden, go ahead and concede that Trump wants to be a dictator, and I'll happily talk to you about Biden. But literally last time I asked you to do this, the same question, you said, no, I don't think that Trump wants to be a dictator, or else you'd be doing all these things. I demonstrate to you how he is doing all these
every
things,
other administration's
so on
done.
and so forth.
So he's doing things that every other administration's done. The same way you guys are crying about mass deportations, he has some of the lowest numbers. You're crying about, I don't like the way they did it. That's the way they were doing it. Obama's building the case.
Even if that is the case, obviously the way they do it matters here, because we're discussing whether or not he wishes to be a dictator, and there are ways to do a given action that indicate you want to be a dictator. And I think the National Guard stuff probably matters more than ICE stuff here, but the fact that he will deploy the National Guard to states illegally, the Supreme Court has ruled that they didn't have authority to do that, right? And also the fact that ICE, which to my knowledge does have this authority, whatever, but he is, instructing ICE to do raids in states that obviously don't want those raids to happen, and the DOJ, won't cooperate with state agencies who want to investigate the ICE shootings that happened. That is evidence of wishing to be a dictator.
Pages. They're doing all these things, but when Trump does anything, it's completely different. No one was upset when Obama was dropping bombs on people, and he was doing all the same things.
True.
I mean, no one on the left says anything about all that, but when Trump does it, it's completely different. And it does matter when you remove a sitting president off social media, when you go and pressure the biggest companies to silence people, to remove conservatives, the same way TikTok bans us all every week. Those things do matter because free speech to me is actually the most important thing. So when
I'm sorry, who's president right now and who got the TikTok deal done? Who wanted to ban TikTok first? What?
And you're making it seem like the only ideas in America are the mainstream ones on the left, which are insane ideas. Then yeah, that is a big deal. It does matter. And it should be applied to every administration, not just Trump. Everything I know, Trump bad. I go through this every day.
I'll respond to all of that now. So one of the suggestions that you made was about the Biden-Harris administration telling Mark
What's up, Metro?
Kick Donald Trump off. First and foremost, they didn't say that if you don't do this, we're going to shut you down and there's going to be there's going to be criminal punishments. That never happens. They made a suggestion to Facebook saying, hey, guess what? COVID misinformation is bad. It'll kill people. You should do this. And then they did. There was no consequences. There was nothing bad that was going to happen to Mark Zuckerberg if they didn't. Unlike Brendan Carr and the FCC under Donald Trump saying, hey, ABC and Disney, guess what? You got to kick Jimmy Kimmel off, and if you don't, we might revoke your license. So it's funny because, like I said, in your misrepresentation of what the Biden-Harris administration did in the conversation with Facebook, you gave me yet another reason to describe why Trump wants to be a dictator.
So there's no consequences from suppressing data, doctors, all that. Things that would have changed the outcome of people's lives.
That's what Dean said.
The economy, things worldwide. There was none of that matters. They just simply pressured him a little and that was it. Removing doctors, Republicans, the sitting president, all these things just doesn't matter to you. It's just crazy. This is the argument with every Democrat is anytime Trump does anything, he's Hitler, it's bad, it's evil, but then everything
Yep, this is everything Dean said.
Somehow, with them it's legal, it's totally acceptable. Silencing half the country is totally okay. I mean, Republicans even
silencing half the country. We went from telling Facebook to do some things to silencing half the country, bro.
Social media platforms still being biased against us and not even to say that
they're still being biased against you. Who's their fucking president right now? What do we?
Misinformation didn't matter. That's the one misinformation that actually affected people's lives and is going to for the next, however many years until everyone.
Hold on, what misinformation is talking about here?
Today, having to deal with death threats against us, social media platforms still being biased against us and not even to say that misinformation didn't matter. That's the one misinformation that actually affected people's lives and is going to for the next, however many years until everyone's dead. And why Pfizer's hiding the files for 90 years from us.
Oh my God!
Outcome of these vaccines and all the data. So it's like to say that doesn't matter.
There's no source. Pfizer's hiding all the data on the outcomes of their vaccines.
Actually, one of the only things that does matter because it affects people's health. And without your health, Trump doesn't really matter. Neither does Biden or any of these people.
I'm out of time to respond, so I can't. I'll be responding to that on my personal YouTube channel.
Of course. My last face-off claim is Republicans are more committed than Democrats to fix the economy and help working families.
Okay, well, to start.
What a pussy claim, too. Just are more trusted than Democrats. If you want to differentiate, tell us how you know action A crosses a line, but action B does not. Because, well, I don't want to use the word no, but because action A, birthright citizenship, I gave you this earlier. That is one much longer standing president that I think is more, I recognize it's not like a foundational American value in the sense that it was literally in our founding, right? But clearly that is a much bigger part of our culture. That is a much bigger part of our history than student loan debt forgiveness, right? That is something that is considered an American principle to some degree in a way that student debt forgiveness isn't, right? B is actually in the Constitution. Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, to my knowledge, was based on an interpretation of a congressional law about the authority of the DOE. I'm not familiar with any particular, there's nothing in the Constitution specifically about student loans or anything, right? And there's nothing, I don't know exactly what constitutional, I'm sure there were constitutional clauses and such discussed in that case or whatever, but obviously not nearly to the same degree. And also, partially because of those three factors, and then, also in addition to, I think it's just much clear. There's a clearer reason for thinking why Biden's actions were in good faith. One, because of all those reasons that make it more likely that Biden was right than that Trump is right. And two, the actions of Biden in the past have showcased that, in my opinion, whereas the actions of Trump have shown the opposite, and there's a much stronger case that Trump is wrong. Z? I don't know, Z. Do you actually think the student loan stuff was good? Not really. What's the benefit redistributing downwardly mobile graduates? I think they're like, I understand it probably is the case that like some people were kind of fucked over in a sense that like they were obviously all told to go to college and such their whole life or whatever, and then the college wage premium has decreased, like not decreased that much, but has like decreased and stuff, and they probably not actually get like a shit ton of value out of it or anything. So I understand why people could probably be to some degree fucked over or whatever, but I don't think it was a net benefit. It also probably it came at a bad time too, because of, you know, we were already at an inflationary period during that time, and that probably only made things worse.
You're actually going to find this shocking. Same thing with a lot of the viewers at home. You're actually technically right. You know, for those that don't know, we both like exchanged prompts like the day before filming, so I knew what to expect here. I did some research on it. There's been a couple of polls done in the last couple of months where actually, yeah, Americans do suggest that they have more trust in Republicans.
And she's going to jerk off to this and take it as a win. Do you plan to go to graduate school for econ? Yeah. What's up?
Economy.
Bartholomew Gilbertson.
Like Washington Post did one, I think, and that's what it showed. What my counterclaim
Learner code is one of the things that will consistently defend Obama on.
Here is that they shouldn't. Because the Republicans are completely destroying the economy. The Trump administration has been terrible. Last year, we saw the worst jobs report since 2003 if we ignore the 2008 recession caused by the Trump administration. We saw the most manufacturing bankruptcies since 2008 as well because of the Trump administration. I
feel like this stuff is rhetoric maxing, and I think some of it's true-ish, but were you transferring after community college? I mean, I don't know for sure. I could go to GMU, but probably just school here in North Carolina. It probably fucking I don't know. Chapel Hill, NC State, one of those places.
Single month in 2025 under
GMU's a shit school. Not for econ. What do you mean? For the like relative cost and requirements to get in, it's like econ faculty is like extraordinary. You know, Trump administration in 2008, those bastards. Well, I mean, I think he was just ignoring for the outliers. Look at their acceptance rates. Aren't their acceptance rates pretty high? Yeah, 87 to 90%. I recognize it's not like the most prestigious school in the world or anything, obviously, but that's why I said like the relative like cost of tuition GMU to Austrian school. Yeah, which maybe, you know, that's a reason maybe I wouldn't want to go there. But like I said, the economics faculty there is like obviously really good. Their economics program in general is pretty great. And it's not that much money and not that hard to get in and not that far away from me. So no, go to UNC. You're very lucky to live in NC. NC does have good colleges. I mean, UNC is on the list, I guess, but you know, I also some colleges, I'm pretty sure UNC offers like a general economics degree or whatever, but oh my god, my hair, incredible stuff going on there. Some colleges are annoying and only offer like fucking business economics, and it's like it's all just related to business and management and stuff. It's like I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do fun shit. I want to do cool shit. I don't want to own no goddamn business. I want to be fucking Jerome Powell one day. That's what I want to be.
For Trump after Liberation Day, the imposition of all those tariffs, we saw less and less manufacturing jobs.
Actually, you know, he doesn't even have an econ degree, so.
We see a stagnation in the increase of real median wages starting under Trump, which was not true during the last 2 years of the Biden-Harris administration because of Trump.
Like, not really.
We see a declining amount of real fixed private business.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I would say go to Wisconsin school, but I don't know which does econ well.
Business investment into American manufacturing.
Me either. My mom's from Wisconsin, though.
And we have seen that every single financial quarter under Donald Trump's second administration after a boom in investment under Biden. I mean, everything around us.
Go to Chapel Hill, not Charlotte. All right. I have a friend that goes to Charlotte.
Seems to be getting worse. The odds of a recession.
What's so bad about Charlotte?
Markets are terrible. Consumer confidence, is that like a...
The way you feel about those business economics classes, how I feel about economics class without calculus. There aren't, I don't know. So the economic classes without calculus are like the intro economics classes, obviously. Calculus is a prerequisite for most of the intermediate micro stuff. I don't think there's many in intermediate macro as well, but I don't think there's many that will let you even take them without taking calculus or whatever. Madison is good, but really expensive. Everywhere's expensive, bro. Although in-state tuition in North Carolina is pretty cool thing to have, so...
A 15 or 20 year low, and no clue why the polls are indicating that Americans have more faith in Republicans and Democrats. I'd have to chop it up to propaganda or misinformation because clearly the facts say that Trump is failing us and the GOP could do significantly better than they are.
Yeah, I looked last night and pretty much no matter what the outlet was, Fox, CNN, ChatGPT, Grok, it literally doesn't matter. They said across the board,
ChatGPT, Grok.
Citizens trust Republicans with the economy more. I think when you're pushing...
It was expensive because the Democrats' federal student loan cartel. I'm not sure that is the only reason, but I would imagine that would have some non-negligible effect on it.
That you want to...
And presume, like, plausibly, there's positive externalities there. So I understand the justification for it. I don't know how well it worked or how big the positive externalities are, but...
Put Americans first, America first agenda. You want to bring jobs back to America. I think that when you say that, it sounds great. And that's probably why they're like, yeah, we want that guy. I wanted no new wars. I wanted to be in no wars. That's obviously very costly. We're not necessarily getting that right now, which I am not a fan of.
We're not necessarily getting that right now.
Administration every day. I know tariffs can be very tough. They can have positive outcomes later on as well. I say if you want to help Americans and the economy and all that, I'd be like, okay.
What a fucking... A weak ass prompt, not willing to defend any of this bullshit, bro.
We need to get out war. We need to actually get jobs here. I would say getting mass deportations could be good. And I think the biggest thing would be the fact that there's so much fraud. I think if we investigate the fraud, Republican and Democrat, like what's going on in Minnesota and the Somalian fraud, and there's so much fraud, especially here in California. It's probably the worst state. I think if we investigate that, we could actually get that money back to Americans, but I don't think
that would have, you think that would have any significant effect on the macro economy? I just don't think that's the case. I think it's probably outweighed by almost anything else Trump does.
That's a left versus right thing. I think that's just a government thing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, at no point in that last statement did you respond to my damnation of the economy under the Trump administration. So it kind of sounds like you agree that Americans shouldn't trust the Republican Party to effectively navigate and manage the economy because the Trump administration is failing it. Now, if you disagree with me, if you don't think the Trump administration is failing the economy, then please respond to the macroeconomic data points that I shared to demonstrate otherwise.
Have you heard of the Bennett hypothesis? I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't recognize it or anything. Well, I want to let me copy.
Okay, but here's my issue. You have Democrats in charge for however long. Like, let's take California, for example. It's been 16 years or whatever. And then Gavin Newsom every day is blaming Trump for every single thing. And I'm confused because you said everything was going well under the Biden administration.
I mean, I'm obviously familiar with this concept generally.
Administration. Me personally, what I do for a living, I don't get hit the way a normal person gets hit. Car insurance is high, health insurance is high, everything costs money, everything goes up and up and up, rent is insane, mortgage, all these things, okay? I see all that, I'm living and I'm part of it, but I'm not necessarily affected by the way other people would. And, so my life isn't increasingly better under Trump. Besides, I would say free speech for me is the biggest thing. So I'm like, okay, you are kind of putting it out there that Republicans get in charge and just everything goes up. Everything goes to shit, and it was so much better under Biden. But I'm like, I don't think me or the average American really...
Frank broken again. I don't know why. I don't know why he's doing that.
Really feels that way, and if the data's there and it's true and it's factual, then that's great. I can't argue with that as long as it's Trump.
My understanding about it's probably true to some degree. Well, I want to say. Well, technically, I guess I want to say that. The statement is true.
The big picture is that federal student loans have probably pushed some college prices up. But the strongest effect seems to be on sticker tuition at certain schools and programs, not just some universal massive price explosion everywhere. The basic mechanism is pretty simple. If the government makes it easier for students to borrow, colleges can capture some of that extra ability to pay by raising tuition. That's the Bennett hypothesis, and there is actual evidence for it.
Oh, he said it.
Especially for private for-profit schools and some less selective institutions. The pass-through isn't zero. Some of the aid gets eaten by schools. But people way overstate this into Loans caused all tuition inflation, and that's just lazy. Public college prices also rose because state governments cut per student funding, especially after session.
Okay. I remember this paper. Technically, targeted transfer don't necessarily increase the price. Thanks. Fucking. Notion. Don't necessarily increase the price of whatever they're targeted to. So in the case of student loans, tuition. In the case of SNAP, food. Why can't kill me? I have to add an email address.
And for-profits are some of the worst offenders. But the total rise in college costs is doing multi-causal warfare. Loans, state disinvestment, rising demand for degrees, labor costs, amenities, admin growth, and housing constraints all matter. So if some guy says, student loans had no effect on prices, that's wrong. If some other guy says, federal loans are basically the whole reason college is expensive, that's also wrong. Both are cooked.
Incredible. I think it's a paper about Brazil, and it's about targeted transfers, and it does find it increased. Does find it increased prices overall. We study supply-side responses to student financial aid, focusing on tuition response to the targeting of aid. Our framework identifies two mechanisms: a direct effect, which raises tuition, and a composition effect, which can lower tuition if aid targets price-sensitive students. Leveraging a reform in Brazil's student loan program, we provide descriptive evidence that both mechanisms are quantitatively important. We then estimate equilibrium model of higher education to quantify the impact of alternative targeting schemes. We find that a loan program with merit-based targeting increases tuition by 3%, while needs-based targeting raises tuition by only 0.4%. This arises because low-income students targeted in the need-based scheme are more price-sensitive. These price adjustments have strong impact on enrollment decisions, emphasizing the importance of targeting aid in student financial aid policy design. Student aid programs generate two opposing forces. On the one hand, aid increases students' ability to pay, which may induce colleges to raise tuition. On the other hand, if aid is targeted to lower income students who typically have lower ability to pay, colleges may reduce tuition to attract them. As a result, the net impact of student aid on tuition is theoretically ambiguous and depends on how the aid is targeted. When aid goes to students with a lower baseline willingness to pay, it narrows the gap between high and low WTP students, causing the demand curve to rotate and become flatter, more price elastic. This rotation pushes prices down and can lead to a lower equilibrium tuition. Is Brazil comparable? So the principle is still going to apply the same. Our student loan program is obviously not going to be designed the same as Brazil. So I'm not claiming that you're going to find a similar effect size here. I'm really claiming that, that if it is targeted to lower income individuals, which student loans to some extent in the US are, but we're quite generous with them, is my understanding at least. There is a mechanism by which they can reduce prices, so it's not immediately evident that they are solely responsible or primarily responsible for raising prices to the degree of which they've raised. What would happen if we straight up banned borrowing for college? Well, a lot less people would go to college.
Trusting non-biased source, which doesn't really exist. But this whole thing of everything is so bad, I don't think it's that bad. I think we just need to focus on.
Apparently, UWL is best Madison UW's system school. I'd suggest it, but maybe a bit biased as an alumni. Maybe.
And stop sending money to every other country and helping all these people. And I
forget where my mom went to college in Wisconsin. I don't know where she went.
Like I said, war is one of the most expensive things, and we don't want to be a part of that. But I wouldn't say.
Second to Trump, nothing Trump has done has made my life better. Unsurprising.
like everything was amazing under Biden and so cheap, and then now all of a sudden everything's really expensive. I don't think a normal American is experiencing that.
Okay, well, we can definitely demonstrate a shift in.
I don't know if Dean ever claimed that such.
During the last 2 years of the Biden-Harris administration, every financial quarter, we saw more and more investment into American manufacturing. We saw booming GDP growth. We saw 2 historical low levels of unemployment, 50-year record lows. Not to mention that we saw a significant downtrend in inflation on top of pretty awesome strides and increases in real meeting.
Well, obviously there was a downturn in inflation eventually, but at least part of the initial spike was, due to the fiscal stimulus that Biden did. But some of it's also blamed on supply shocks in the Fed. So
wages alongside about $1 billion.
And the manufacturing stuff is it's overblown. Like different signs, I still think it was net good and stuff, but it probably was not, some huge, incredible boom. We're fucking bringing epic manufacturing back.
Billion other things. As I already told you, last year, 2025, where jobs were
making your life better. It's a bad metric, apparently. It's not what you should strictly be voting off of. That was my point. I think it might be an okay heuristic, but that is not. I don't think that's the most rational way to base who you vote based on or vote for. How was the debate? Well, it was interesting. He had a very hard time understanding anything I was saying. He didn't really respond to anything I said. And then he messaged me, I'm not educated enough in this topic and I'm not comfortable talking about it educatedly. Move on, please. And then he had some tech issues and then left and said, we are going to have to table this. So, interesting. At least if a Dem was president, I would get freebies so I can meet max space.
Reports since ignoring recessions, most manufacturing bankruptcies since 2008. That's terrible. Stagnation in real median wage growth. Last year in 2025, the first quarter, we actually had negative GDP growth. Only developed country in the world who have that negative GDP growth. On top of, like I said, about a billion terrible other things as well, ranging from a sudden decrease in inflation, but simultaneously in consideration of all these other factors of a declining economy, like bad GDP growth, bad jobs report, bankruptcies, it seems to indicate an environment that can
You read the Hillary article from today? No.
To transpire and create a recession. And it sounds like in response
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
Your argument was, I don't feel
I'm assuming Hillary Clinton knocks on Trump's affordability, highlights kids' agenda. Oh boy.
I mean, facts don't care about your feelings. Do you have a counter argument better than I feel like you're wrong, Dean?
No, I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm saying that you pretending like under the Biden administration everything was amazing.
This is true.
Under Trump, it's not. That's just not true. And let's also talk about why things are so bad, which we're going to probably.
I don't even think. I'm not. Obviously, Dean's not committed to that claim. I think that's not a. I've not talked about some of the failings or whatever that much, but hold on, this is the same. This is yeah. I found it. But I'm sure Dean would obviously not agree with that claim. He would just say Biden didn't go far enough in making us a social democracy. Like
feeling for the next 50 years, Democrats shut down our country, and people are forgetting that people lost everything because of that. The city, I'll speak for California and Los Angeles in general. Ever since the pandemic, which obviously now we know every single thing was a lie, and they just destroyed the country for no reason.
True and very relevant.
Businesses cannot keep afloat here. They just simply can't. Restaurants are gone. Businesses are gone because we have Democrats running the city. Crime is up. People just stop reporting crime because there's no point. There's not enough cops and they don't come. So now they say the crime's down. But I'm like, we're forgetting the biggest thing, which really is COVID. That took a hit on our country.
There was obviously a spike in reported crime like during COVID. It started going down afterwards. That was not just because people were discouraged from reporting crimes. You can look at data that's not based on, reported crimes. It's just, like you can look at murder rates. It's kind of pretty hard to to hide a body in today's modern world. So that is a useful proxy, and that was going down too. I might vote Dem forever so I can be lazy all day. We did a Nordic welfare state.
That we are not. How is that funny?
See, this is why I'm saying it's not a good idea to vote based on just who makes your own personal life better and or who made your own personal life better in the past, or even just not necessarily they made it better, but just your life was better, because I think many people falsely attribute things to presidents all the time.
We're not going to.
In their life.
People losing everything is hilarious.
No.
People losing their businesses, their mental health, killing themselves, turning to alcohol, turning to drugs, losing their job, losing their jobs, free speech, doctors losing their
We're back here
because they said there might be side effects. I mean, that is going to affect our country for probably 50 years. I don't know if we're going to recover from that. And also most people that are not nuts can tell there is a shift in everything since then. Businesses cannot stay alive here. It's just nothing's been the same, and it's really bad. And I think people care about that, and it's not something to joke about.
Okay, so what I was laughing at is your very sour attempt to look all the way back to the pandemic to somehow justify and or explain how the Democrats are responsible for the shift in macroeconomic trends that we saw start on January 21st, 2025 with Trump's second administration. And it is extra ironic because you actually would blame a lot of the negative economic outcomes downstream of the pandemic that were true under the Biden-Harris administration on Biden and Harris, even though they weren't caused by them, they're caused by the pandemic and they were global trends. And your argument there was, well, Biden's president. This is all his fault. But somehow you have found a way to reach back into the beginning of Biden's presidency years ago to explain why Donald Trump, the current president, is not responsible for the economic trends that we see today. So that's what I was laughing at. Also, spare me the fake outrage. You responded to that by saying, what's funny, Dean? People are dying.
I'm not sure either party's particularly interested in doing that as of now.
Moments after, in the last topic that we debated, saying that this VA nurse deserved to get murdered by 12 shots in the back by a lawless ICE thug. So spare me the fake outrage. You don't care. But what I would like to add on here is that I think this is an emotionally driven position. You can't tell me that the economic trends we saw years ago because of the pandemic that were straightened out by
Dem nominee, don't have Bukele approach to crime, stop being racist to white people, and gave unlimited freebies like single payer get 60% of the vote. I'm pretty sure they would not get that much. I think there's enough of the Democratic base that would not like the Bukele approach to crime, and I'm assuming by being racist to stop being racist to white people, you mean just don't be woke and also don't do DI. But
after the pandemic, under the Biden-Harris administration, we saw 2 50-year record low levels of unemployment. After the pandemic, we saw a rebound in investment. After the pandemic, we saw a rebound in GDP growth. After the pandemic, we saw
it's just people just don't. The general populace does not care that much about any type of copyright law. So.
Rebound in many markets, and the one lingering thing that is still affecting many Americans is the price of houses and the prices of goods. But keep in mind, a lot of the data points that I shared weren't really too concerned by prices. It's just emotional. There's no basis to your position, and I only think the reason why you're attempting to reach all the way back into the pandemic to justify that I'm wrong and it's all the Democrats' fault is because you don't know the data like I do. It doesn't seem like you know a lot of things. Your only position in this debate is to spark fake outrage, tell me I'm crazy and liberals suck, when in all reality, I don't think you've opened up a textbook on economics for 5 years.
Okay, so fake outrage.
I mean, Dean probably took high school economics classes. I know Parker went to college for econ, although I still see him give bad econ takes all the time. This girl, to be fair, is just being incredibly fucking dumb.
From shutting down the country and the world. So that's just emotional. That never happened. We're going to have no effects from that, right?
That's not at all what he said. How's that the only thing you have to say?
Is when you attempted to crucify me for laughing at you. Keep in mind, I'm not laughing at the pandemic. I'm not laughing at those that lost their lives because of the pandemic. I'm not laughing at those that were addicted to drugs because of the pandemic. I'm laughing at you attempting to reach back to the pandemic to create justification out of thin air insofar as why Democrats are responsible for the Trump administration's faults today. And that's something we should all laugh at just because of how truly ridiculous it is.
That's not fake outrage. That's why I got into this. My life was affected by
Thoughts on Harry Sisson texts? Are there new ones? Or are you referring to the ones from a while ago when he was like just being a fuckboy on Snapchat?
I lost my job. Everyone in my family, my friends, we all lost our jobs. We also then were being forced to put vaccines in our body.
Old ones? I mean, I didn't see any like substantial wrongdoing from him. Isn't literally the allegation just that like he was messaging multiple women on Snapchat at once? I'm not even sure. Did he have a girlfriend when he was doing that? I'm not even sure he did.
Which everyone that has it will have either effects now or later, lifelong effects. So that's affecting a lot of people in the country. I'm sure a lot of people got the vaccine, right? And so that's not fake outrage. That actually changed me and every single person's life I know. And we are feeling the effects from that. And we're going to continue to feel the effects from that. We have not bounced back. And that's not me blaming Democrats and Republicans. I don't agree with the fact that Trump pushed the vaccine. I think that was literally insane to do. So it's like, that's not fake outrage. That's like all of our lives were affected. The city has gone to shit since then. And I know because I live here and I see it. Restaurants can't stay alive. Rents are too high. The crime.
How many times are you going to mention that?
Control. The homeless is out of control. And 90% of this stemmed from the pandemic and the people who were in charge who handled it terribly. And people lost everything because of it. And yeah, I think the country losing everything is a lot more important than one person. Yeah, I do care more.
Okay, so first, the direct response to the argument to shut it down because it's terrible. Once again, we saw under the Biden-Harris administration during the last 2 years, economic trends that look like this. Look at my finger. It's going up. That's positive. Come January 1st, 2021, 2025.
How many people love software as a service, which DMCA incentivizes? Well, I think people don't, typically their sentiment is against that, but they don't know why. Like, I would imagine most people who know what DMCA is probably know what it is in the context of a YouTuber they watch got a fucking DMCA strike. By giving a copyright holder full control over the inherently obfuscated nature of compiled code. Oh, well, you do. I mean, I think there are other issues with copyright law more generally in the US, but I don't think there is any feasible way to not have companies own their own programs which they developed. There was no homelessness before 2021. This is true.
Economic trends that look like this. See the fingers going down, it's negative. You cannot just simply basically posit that the pandemic that happened all the way back here is somehow responsible for the downtrend all the way up here. How can you explain the uptrends that came right before it? You can't. Now, the indirect response I'd like to give to the theme of what I hear from you now is...
I like to call that as fat snap. That one is fucking hilarious. That one is goated.
That I heard a lot of me. I was hurt, therefore I care. And I think that perfectly explains, okay, the self-obsessiveness of many Trump supporters with the apathetic attitude directed towards everybody else.
True, actually.
By that ICE agent, so you don't care. It wasn't you who Donald Trump posted on Truth Social about when he was advocating for the execution of 7 Democrats in Congress, so you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump stopped paying out food stamp benefits to 16 million children during the last 12 days of the government shutdown and then refused to abide by a court order to pay them out, therefore you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump cut 10 million low-income Americans off of Medicaid under the big beautiful bill, when we already have 51,000 low-income Americans die every year via lack of access to healthcare, so you don't care. I mean, I could go on all day, and I think that my point here is clear. Legitimately, Emily, this is the third time we've sat down together, yet this is the first time I've heard you care about people getting hurt, and it's funny because it started with the word me.
I care that the country goes to shit, and I care that people were forced to put poison into their body. That's going to inevitably...
Oh my God, how many times are we going to talk about the vaccine?
Around them. Yeah.
He's never going to respond to anything. It's like Dean's points are not bad or anything, and especially against this fucking retard there, like he's doing really well, but it's not even like... Obviously, things are harder to identify than just simply line go up, line go down, president got elected at this time. I don't think I think it's very likely that tariffs have hurt manufacturing on net, but it's not even like I don't think most people could draw a line if they just saw the graph of manufacturing employment and didn't know when Trump got into office. I don't think that most people could draw a line that shows that, right? Like, I don't think it's like been some like dramatic catastrophic thing or whatever. With regards to manufacturing employment, I think overall it's like quite bad, obviously, but you know, the idea you deserve some sort of government handout if it's temporary, and if it's temporary taken away from you, it's equivalent to murder is retarded.
I don't understand. So you have it all. You have all.
Did I miss him? He talked about the Medicaid cuts and stuff. Did he say murder?
To pay them out, therefore you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump cut 10 million low-income Americans off of Medicaid under the big beautiful bill, when we already have 51,000 low-income Americans die every year via lack of access to healthcare, so you don't care. I mean, I could go on all day, and I think that my point here is clear.
Said die of lack of access to healthcare, which that is, to my understanding, that is a meme number, to be fair. That's not, I think that comes from, or no, I think it's probably still a meme number, but I think the meme number is like 68, when he says snap, 68,000 a year or whatever. It's the number Bernie cites, and that's from like a Lancet study that's just like total slop. I would guess that the 51,000 is, pretty close to that.
Pay them out, therefore you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump cut 10 million low-income Americans off of Medicaid. So you said, I was hurt, therefore I care. And I think that perfectly explains, okay, the self that ICE agent, so you don't care. It wasn't you who Donald Trump posted on Truth Social about when he was advocating for the execution of 7 Democrats in Congress, so you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump stopped paying out food stamp benefits to 16 million children during the last 12 days of the government shutdown and then refused to abide by a court order to pay them out, therefore you don't care. It wasn't you when Donald Trump cut 10 million low-income Americans.
I didn't hear him say murder.
Beautiful bill. When we already have 51,000 low-income Americans die every year via lack of access to healthcare, so you don't care. I mean, I could go on all day, and I think that my point here is clear. Legitimately, Emily, this is the third time we've sat down together. Yet
just continue to vote for them. I don't understand. If all of that on your side, Democrats are crushing it. So why do the people not just continue to vote for them? I don't understand. If all of them,
what a pussy.
They're the best for the economy, even though the fraud we see under Democrats is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Going all the way up to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I mean, it makes sense why they brought all the Somalians here, so obviously they can run fraud through them all.
Bro.
But I'm like, California, the most fraudulent state. The amount of money we have and we piss away. And guess what? Every week in the news, what is it? A new person who's a Democrat. Oh, they actually bought a bunch of mansions. They're in charge of the homeless money.
Have you had roasted peas before? I don't think so.
Council, they bought new mansions, new cars. The fraud is the issue. And I know it happens on both sides, of course, because the difference is in California, you have LA, which is just becoming a third world shithole. And then you have an hour away in Orange County, which is run by Republicans. And somehow, we're 45 minutes away from each other and it's pristine there. It's perfect. And I'm like, why is that? How is there any problems when the fraud is this bad? Because Democrats go in to clearly rape Americans and take their money because nothing's getting done. Nothing's getting done. It's never been worse here. We rank number 1 for everything bad. Why? Because Gavin Newsom's better.
In California? No. The median person in California is probably living a better life than the median person in West Virginia. Like,
in charge for how long? We have Karen Bass who just let 2 cities burn down and nothing gets better. But if all these talking points, everything benefit you and Democrats on your side, and so life should be good under Democrats, then how come people don't just
talk? Last time I went to LA, my mom got attacked by a fent tweaker. I mean, LA definitely has that type of problem, but
for Democrats, even Republicans? Why?
I think we're being a little crazy here.
Well, it's actually funny that you asked that question. How come people don't vote for Democrats? We've already started to see the blue wave begin. A Democrat won the mayoral race in Miami, Florida for the first time in 20 to 30 years, as well as many other elections that I'd love to share with you about the upcoming midterms.
Okay, well, in California, we've seen a red wave. The top 2 people running for governor of California are both Republicans. Why is that? Because all the money we pay in taxes.
What do you mean the top 2 people?
Homeless has never been worse. Everything is unaffordable. Crime is insane. Police don't come. We don't even have enough police to come either way. And 2 cities burned to the ground. What are they focused on? Finding those people to clean up their own houses that have burned down. Everyone's leaving. They're trying to do millionaires aren't paying enough tax. Now we're going to do the billionaire tax. So what are we having here? A red wave. A red wave because they have done nothing but fail us here.
Eric, this is polymarket odds. Is this guy a Republican? He's a Democrat. 45%. 25%. He's a Democrat. 9%. This guy's a Republican. Are there even polls on this yet? Republicans lead California governor poll. Endorsement may jolt party. This fucking poll released Tuesday shows conservative commentator Steve Hilton and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco tied with 14% of likely voters. The site said from a poll released 2 weeks earlier that showed Hilton leading with 16% and the guy 14%. But a poll was completed just before President Trump endorsed Hilton. Democratic candidates have also shifted slightly with Congressman Eric, I would guess most of the reason for this is it just seems like the Democratic vote is so split, the poll is so split. And the polymarket odds were pretty heavily in favor of Democrats, so. It's a jungle primary, so it massively increased Dems' chance of making it to the top 2. Polling top 2 before Trump endorsed Hilton, he pulled away. Okay. GDP to yeah, okay. Makes sense. Damn, should have been reading chat. I don't need to do any of my own research. You guys can just tell me everything. Research. I googled stuff. You would actually vote for a Democratic governor in California? You are insane, man. Did I even say that? I don't think I said that. I don't know. I would imagine the Republican people running for governor of California are pretty reasonable people because they would kind of have to be in order to stand any chance of winning. Although if they were endorsed by Trump, maybe not. Hey, Nerd, I'll tutor you for free and even hold your hand like Chip 11 Danny State when you're ready for some big boy math. I'm just going to do regular math classes. Did that chat not show up? I didn't see it. Still awake? Well, I'm about to end, but yeah. Oh, it did show up. I didn't see it. By the way, look at a cat. Oh my god. I don't even have to. I need to figure out a way to make sure you guys can see him in the background. I'll just put a shock collar on him, and then I'll keep him there. That's a joke. Holy stream delay like 10 seconds. Yeah, I think that's because of the way it crashed, and then I restarted it with the lower stuff or whatever. But the Trump Notes Guide supports worker visas for migrants destroying CEQA. What's that? Oh, the environmental law. Real. I was just environmental review for housing. Yeah, I mean, it's possible he again, in order to stand any chance of winning, I would imagine he have to be somewhat reasonable. But it's just, I think when you have a Trump endorsement, that makes me a little worried. He might have a little bit of crazy in you. But yeah. Okay. I got places to be. I'm gonna edit some videos. Next stream, Frank will be not so long-winded. Goddamn. And I will have hopefully fixed what was wrong with the YouTube stream. I tried putting it on. Basically, I know what went wrong. It was just the encoder I was using. I tried to put it on I have YouTube streaming to a separate, well, I had it streaming to a separate thing instead of just going through a restream, because YouTube with restream makes it fucking lower quality and it's annoying. Like if you go to the Twitch streams compared to my YouTube streams, the Twitch streams are like clearly better quality. So if I stream separately with YouTube, I should be able to control the quality better and make it decent, but did not work properly this time. Head over to Tomfoolery. I will probably be streaming again tomorrow. So, love y'all. Make sure to ask my Lord again. That my Lord bit was fire. I gotta add a new AI. The name of that. But yeah, okay. I think I'll stream Koifon. True. I'll stream it tomorrow. And then on the 12th, whatever weird Destiny community debate thing that's happening, and on the 13th, the UFA toy. So, love you guys. See you later.